12 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Now, welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, the fashionably late as always. Terry Ford and Captain Dave producing on the other side of the glass. Rainy day. I think the rain has stopped. Dave, you're kind of our resident weatherman. What's the outlook for the rest of the day? Because I didn't bring a jacket. I can't get wet. I don't like to get wet.
Rain off and on.
Off and on? Okay. So I got like a 50-50 shot of being able to make it inside dry when the day's over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little better, 60-40.
Okay. Well, I'll take that. Because I went out the door and I looked at the weather, but it said it wasn't going to rain until later. So I was like, you know what? I can get wet for 30 seconds going to my car and potentially 30 seconds coming back later. But I prefer to be dry. So good to know. Last night, Gamecock baseball in action taking on North Florida. Was not the prettiest game between leaving runners on base, making mistakes in the field. I think against a more talented team, South Carolina probably loses that game by a few runs. But, as we've seen many times when you take on these mid-majors, sometimes your level of talent just completely outweighs the other one to where even playing not your best game, you can still end up coming out on top. Carolina was able to do that 3-2 last night as they take down the Ospreys in 10 innings. KJ Scobie coming up with the walk-off in the bottom of the 10th with the ground rule double, knocking Jordan Carrion in to end up winning the game. And again, as we kind of talk about South Carolina navigating this final month of the season, they did what they needed to do. Wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win. And I know we place a lot of importance on obviously what they have to do against conference opponents and having to win 9 of your last 12 conference games, but you can't afford to slip up against any of these midweek teams if you want any shot of making the postseason. And again, had to sweat last night, but you came out on top, which is important. And now you turn your attention this weekend to take on Kentucky, who they themselves heating up a little bit, took two out of 3 against Tennessee, and then ruled a pretty good Louisville team last night themselves, 17-5. So it's not going to get easier, but again, you at least did not trip up on a mid-major last night.
All right, we have a new rule here on this show, is we never say this again. South Carolina should have no problem with blank.
Yeah, the ship may have sailed on that one, but as I brought up a moment ago, sometimes your talent can, even in what was not a great game, leaving guys on base, making mistakes on the field, you still found a way to win just because you're a better, more talented team than them, that's how that should happen.
But that thing was ugly. To disaster.
And look, here's the thing, and again, we all cheer for these games, especially midweeks, to be nice, quick, and efficient. Mm-hmm. And when that thing went to extra innings, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. We're going to be here all night. I was afraid we were going to be. Fortunately, they got it done in 1 extra innings and then got out of there. But as that game started to creep closer to 9:30, I'm like, come on, guys, let's wrap this up.
I was just like, again, when South Carolina goes up 2-0, you're like, okay, here we go.
Yep, here we go. All right, let's put on 8 more. Get this thing over with 7 inning, and everybody gets bed at a decent time.
And even when North Florida made it 2-1, you're like, oh, okay, no big deal. Who cares? Then you're not scoring any more runs.
You're having mistakes in the field.
Any more runs. You're making mistakes in the field, and all of a sudden they take advantage. North Florida takes advantage of one of your mistakes and ties the game.
Yep.
And now you're like, oh God, the way really the way the bullpen's been going, you're sitting here, it's creeping in your head like you can't lose to North Florida, just like the basketball team.
Sure. And then one of the volleyball teams, I think, lost to them too.
Isn't some of the similarities between the men's basketball team and the baseball team are almost eerie in some
It's scary. It really is.
It really is. And so I'm sitting there going, oh, my God, another loss to North Florida? Really? I'm tired of Osprey. And so once they got through the 10th, sitting there going, you got to end. You can't let this thing linger because eventually they're going to get you, right?
Sure.
You got to get this over with. So to their credit, South Carolina did finish it. And, the pitching staff did a really nice job holding North Florida down. North Florida's not a great offensive team, but you didn't, in a very low-scoring game, this is when your pitching staff had to say, okay, we're not scoring runs, even though we should be against this squad.
Yep.
Hey, hitters, we got you. And to the credit of the pitching staff, starters, relievers, the whole crew, you got it done, and you held North Florida to 2 runs.
Yeah.
And you found a way to win a game. And all that matters at the end of the day, dude, is you have more runs than the other guy.
Yeah. And again, for a team that has a margin of error that's basically 0 right now, you couldn't afford that.
Oh, no,
again, what's more important is obviously your conference games, but again, resume overall does matter.
Wasn't that like a quad 10 loss or something?
Yeah, that would have drug you down quite a bit. And again, I'll say this. Again, I don't have the optimism that they're going to be able to win 9 out of their last 12 and make the postseason that way. Crazier things could happen. I don't think they have that in them as of right now. But where we sit at this moment, they're still alive.
Yeah.
There's still a chance. It could still happen. I'm just not holding my breath for it.
And like you said, Kentucky not only went to Knoxville and won 2 out of 3 against Tennessee, they smacked Louisville all over the place.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you got a team playing really well, and you got to go to their barn. But again, if you can go in there and win, at least win the series, you got to win the
2 out of 3.
series.
That's the start.
And the magic number is 9. You got to get 9, right?
So got to win every series and find a way to sweep
You got
one.
to sweep something.
Yep.
And or you get, let's say you get 8, and then go on a run in the SEC tournament.
That could happen as well.
But I think we can agree on this, ready? You got to start kicking some butt. Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah,
You got to start kicking some butt.
You got to turn the wick up. And again, it's not like they were getting run-rolled left and right by conference opponents. Have they gotten run-rolled in the conference? Yes. But they've been close so many times. And again, if a couple things go differently, you pitch a little bit better in the bullpen, if you got some more clutch hits, then who knows? You could have 3 or 4 more wins. We're having a different conversation. You didn't have those wins, obviously, but you're not that far off from being able to get over the hump and make these things happen. Again, you finally did that this weekend against Ole Miss, save for the 3rd game where you got run rolled. So it's not impossible, but again, I'm not putting my money on it at this moment.
No, I mean, I think it's going to be so tough because the teams you're playing have just played better than you all year. I mean, for Florida scuffled, but they have 6 SEC wins. They were a little bit better than you in record. And, yeah, I mean, Mississippi State and Missouri, neither squad is wow.
Yeah.
And Florida swept Missouri, won 2 out of 3 over Mississippi State. But Mississippi State, if my memory serves me, did play South Carolina, correct?
They did.
And Mississippi State won 2 out of 3.
They did.
So this is not going to be easy. You got to, first of all, you got to play crisp. You're going to have to, and really, look, this team is not explosive on offense, but they can stack some runs at times. But you're going to have to take advantage of your opportunities on offense. You're going to have to, obviously, your pitchers are going to have to make big pitches in big moments, and your defense can't be leaky.
Right.
You can't give teams extra outs. If you can do those things and hang around in these games, you'll have an opportunity. But no, we haven't seen, to be fair, anything through this season that tells us they're going to go on a 9-3 heater to finish the season. And I hope I'm wrong, and they do. It's just we haven't watched them play consistently enough to see them do that against quality competition. I thought Bill and Preston said something really interesting this morning. They're not a bad team. They're just not a top 25 team.
Yeah, they kind of exist in that middle ground, which, again, hey, let's make comparisons to basketball, where, again, John Calipari said, hey, if that team was in any other league, they'd be at the top of it. Well, you're not. You're in the SEC.
Right. And that's the reality of this, is that you are in the best league in America, just like that. Look, I think every SEC coach needs to retire this. SEC is really tough.
Hey, we
It's a
know.
tough league.
We're aware.
Yeah, we watch. We watch. We know. It's become the best league in America in so many sports.
I'm struggling to think of many sports that it's not the best league in America, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'll hear.
Basketball is maybe kind of the last hurdle, and they did that this year.
I mean, you'll hear about volleyball. Gymnastics.
Softball.
Friday night gymnastics is a thing in the SEC, right?
Listen, Friday Night Heights, it's a big deal.
And you have all sorts of sports where the SEC, if not the best conference, one of the 2 or 3 best conferences.
They're not bad at anything.
No, they
we'll
don't
put it
suck
that
at
way.
anything. That should be the new slogan. The SEC.
Hey,
we don't suck.
at anything.
And so we got to get past this idea. The SEC is hard. There's never an off day, never an off week. That's what you signed up for. Everybody, players, coaches, you signed up to play in the best league in America, where it does mean more.
And look, fans don't need to hear that either.
No, that's
we
my
know.
point.
If you're a fan of an SEC team, no matter which one it is, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Texas, you're very aware of how tough this conference is. That's what you sign up for. You know, going into every single season, nobody's going to make it out unscathed. No, every team's going to run into their own set of problems because everybody is so darn good, no matter what the sport is.
Yes, so we need to retire the SEC is really tough. There's a tough league. Man, you never get a night off. We know.
And that's what I think turned a lot of people off Coach Kingston. And again, I was only here for the last couple of years of his tenure, but I did hear that a lot from him in post-game press conferences, losing series, and obviously getting bounced in the Super Regional by Florida a couple of years ago. Hey, it's a tough league. And the common response I heard from everybody was like, we know you're supposed to win in regardless.
Yeah, we used to be really good in this tough league.
Yeah, exactly.
Coach.
Like you were the reason at one point why this league was so tough, and people, feared coming to Founders Park. And when they saw you on the schedule, oh dang, we got to host South Carolina. That's not going to be easy, and that's not the case anymore. And again, Coach Maneri, who is very aware of how tough the league has been in years past, is now I think learning the new reality of this is even tougher than when I left a couple years ago.
And the other one, since we're on this little riff, the other one that I love that I hear from coaches, and this is college pro, this game's hard.
Yes.
We know.
Mm-hmm.
We know. We know the game's hard. If it was easy, we'd all be playing it in a professional level. We know the game's hard.
Sure.
We get it. We know that there are guys who are really good in your neighborhood that couldn't do anything on a pro level or a high collegiate level. We get how hard the games are. You don't need to tell us that. We're not stupid. We get it. The game is hard. Pick a sport. Pick a game. It's hard. You know what else is hard? Life.
Yeah.
Everything's hard.
Yeah.
We get it. Because almost to me when you say that you're insulting our intelligence.
Sure.
And belittling us as fans by going, you understand, Tyler, this is hard.
Or it's almost creating a landing spot for when you come up short.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, well, yeah, we lost. I told you it was hard. And like nobody wants to accept that.
Because we want to go like this. I guess the response if you lose, but guys, it's really hard.
Yeah, man, that's tough out there. Like, no, we know. Mm-hmm. We're aware.
We're aware.
You're still supposed to go out there and compete and win.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like we know all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you accepted to play and coach in the toughest conference in America to compete at the highest of levels. Everybody did. And you don't want to be a team at the bottom of the standings. And if you are, guess what? The goal of your program and the goal of your university in the SEC is to go, we sure the hell don't want to be here anymore.
Yep.
So then guess what? People lose jobs. People hit the portal. People come in from the portal. All these things happen because nobody wants to be sitting at the bottom of the league.
Right.
So, all right. So, nice win. Nice. Somebody's going to tell us there's some sports the SEC isn't great at. I want to hear this.
I'm intrigued to know.
Because I don't know all the sports. I don't watch collegiate.
You don't watch competitive rowing? Did they have that in the SEC?
I'm not going to lie to you, man.
SEC crew?
On the side of the body of water watching people row a boat. That's a big thing in some places. Like in Philly, they have this thing called like they have this thing in the river there in Philly where they have these like matches and competitions, and people actually go watch
like Northeast, like Ivy League schools. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's like
you can get into Harvard by rowing.
Yeah, I mean up there because you got Penn, Ivy League schools sitting there, and they're serious about rowing, man. They don't play. The movie was out about the rowers in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Rowing's a thing in some places.
Can you get a scholarship for being the guy up front that yells?
Just saying.
What was that, Dave?
Can you get a scholarship for being the guy up front that yells stroke, stroke, stroke? You don't have to do any rowing.
Isn't that the coach, the guy that yells stroke, stroke, stroke at the front of the boat? Isn't that the coach?
I believe yes.
Or like the captain or whatever?
I think it's a coach. I got to watch that movie. I hear it's a good movie about the Olympic rowing team in the early 1900s or whatever. Not really big in the rowing. So we'll definitely bring our caller on to find out the sports, because all the main sports that we pay attention to, the SEC is pretty bleeping good.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
So am I. 803-404-6100. It's a halftime show. David Ayer, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We'll find out what sports the SEC is not great at next here on The Game. Terry Ford. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head hanging out with you. Got my, and it's funny I did this because as I was coming down from the 19th floor, I was like, I had like these breath mints I have in my office, right?
Yeah.
And I'm coming down the elevator and I just popped one, not thinking. And I get here and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like halfway finished this thing.
You don't chew on those?
Nah, I wait till the very end to chomp them.
See, I'm a person that because I love peppermints.
Yeah, I do too.
I'll put one in, minute or two, and then I'm usually eating the thing.
Yeah, I said, just like I do. So I didn't want to chew it in the first segment, so I'm like, I've just got to like navigate this thing in the first segment.
Yeah.
But got rid of it during the
That's
break.
where
and I chomped it.
you stick it up in the
I tried,
corner of your mouth.
but it gets weird because then I'll start to say something in certain words, and all of a sudden it starts.
Yeah.
Things don't go well.
Or you can hide it on your tongue.
I used to do that with gum.
Yeah.
I would pop gum like on the side, like up in the top, and hide it. And
Yeah.
bring it back down again when I needed it. Days. I keep it there for days, Tyler. No, anyway.
Like that little girl in Willy Wonka.
Right.
Chewed gum for 3 months straight.
Right. All right. So my breath mint's gone. So that's good. Now we can fully talk. 803-404-6100. Now, in case you just jumped in, we were just kind of riffing on the SEC because we were saying the one thing we get tired of hearing from coaches in the SEC is just how tough the SEC is. We get it.
Yes.
And we went over it. The SEC is the best men's basketball league in the country. It's the
Football.
best baseball league in the country.
Baseball.
Best football league in the country. I don't know if it's the best women's basketball league, but
It's in the conversation.
It's in the conversation. So we're like, what isn't the SEC good at? Because to be honest, I don't follow every SEC sport. Patrick, though, is going to give us the rundown on what the SEC isn't near the top at.
Please,
Patrick,
let us
thanks
know.
for jumping in, my friend. You're on the halftime show. What do you got for us?
Okay, so the sports that the SEC does not dominate. One is men's gymnastics.
Okay.
Michigan just won the national title in that this year. They were showing the championships this past Saturday. Also, wrestling, but that is a northern sport.
That's
but two
true.
SEC teams are in Missouri and Oklahoma have wrestling programs still in the Big 12. Lacrosse is another one. The men's lacrosse, because that's mostly dominated by the ACC, and then pardon me,
You okay?
and then the last one would be beach volleyball and bowling. Where the only SEC member to have a bowling team is Vanderbilt.
There we go.
There you go.
And soccer too, right? Isn't
So-
South Carolina soccer in?
South Carolina and Kentucky are the only two men's soccer programs in the SEC, but they compete in the Sun Belt.
They compete in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Patrick, thank you. That was excellent. We
And-
appreciate
and
it.
Oklahoma's the only one with men's gymnastics, and he's correct. Missouri and Oklahoma are the only two with men's wrestling. And Kentucky also the only SEC team with a rifle squad.
Who has a rifle squad?
Kentucky.
Are you surprised by that?
They compete in the Great American Rifle Conference,
Well, duh.
the GARC. We're learning so much today. By
Well,
the
here's
way,
the thing, right? I lived in Kentucky for like 6 months. I could see Kentucky being good at rifle.
so the current members of the GARC,
Uh-huh.
Army, Akron, Kentucky, Memphis, Navy, and West Virginia. I'm going to assume
Army's
that Army
really
and
good at it.
Navy are probably the top dogs in rifle.
Think of the pressure on Army and Navy to be great at rifle.
If you lose,
That's what I'm saying.
who's defending us?
All of a sudden, you're feeling really like you're feeling a little uneasy and nervous
Wait a
if the
minute.
guys at Army and Navy can't win.
Let's see.
Check out the
Let's
championships.
find out who the. Oh,
Can I give you the one that makes they kind of went like, huh?
Sure.
Akron. Akron has a rifle team.
well, have you ever been to Ohio?
I've been. I lived in Youngstown for 2 years. They needed a rifle team.
Okay. West Virginia defending rifle
I
champions.
could see that in West Virginia, man.
I'm looking here. I don't see either of the service academies. Alaska? Hold it. There's the University of Alaska.
Alaska Anchorage or just Alaska? There's University of Alaska Anchorage. They used
hold
to host a basketball tournament every year.
The
Great Alaskan Shootout was Alaska Anchorage.
This is in Fairbanks. The Alaska Nanooks.
Nah, I got nothing.
They are apparently multi-time rifle champions.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I guess you're shooting your own food up there.
that's true. Yeah, it's bears and who knows what else
What
on
else
the
you can
frozen
shoot
tundra out
to
there.
eat? Yeah, exactly.
The coal miners of West Virginia.
I see
very
West
good with the
Virginia.
rifle.
2 years I lived in West Virginia. I could see those guys
Yeah.
being good with a rifle. You get up with those hollers,
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Akron's interesting. I just never, because they're known for tires.
The one that surprises me is we don't have a bass fishing team here at USC.
Oh, yeah, Lake
Clemson
Murray.
has one.
Well, everybody goes fishing on Lake Murray around here, right?
Yeah, I mean
They have a
there's
Bassmasters
tons of
tournament.
local talent here bass fishing, and I
Say
have
that
two
slow,
cousins. I have two cousins who are champions in bass fishing, but they're in the upstate.
Are
So
they champions?
yes, they are champions.
Are you a fisherman, Dave?
I was when I was growing
Did you
up.
actually fish?
Yes,
Were you a champion fisher, Dave?
I wasn't a champion, but I was pretty good.
You were pretty good, but not championship level like your other family members?
I know how to go in the woods and find worms.
Really?
Yeah,
By
How
the,
do you go in the woods and find worms?
you just rake the leaves back. There they are.
by the way, University of Montevallo in Alabama is the number one bass fishing school. I
There we go.
don't think Clemson's in the top 25.
Anybody we know in the top 25 of bass fishing?
Let's see.
Auburn.
Murray State is 12th.
There you go.
Where's Auburn?
I don't see Auburn. A lot of Texas schools in here. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Tennessee's actually 22. Okay, Auburn's actually number 10. Auburn is the 10th best bass fishing school in the country,
Look at that.
There you go.
according to the Collegiate Bass Fishing
Well, Hugh
Series.
Freeze is the head coach of the bass fishing program.
Doesn't he look like it though?
You look like you'd be a bass fisherman.
Hugh Freeze perennially always looks like he just came off of a bass boat.
He just needs that little.
He's also always kind of like sunburnt too.
Yeah, what's that vest that the fishermen wear?
Yeah,
with
they
all
were
the
like
lures and everything on them?
the Performance Fishing Group (PFG). He's got the sunglasses with a little what do you call it? The croaky on it. He's always wearing a visor. He looks like he just got done
That's true.
fishing.
He looks like he could be part of the fishing program, the bass fishing program.
I would imagine if when they lose a game, maybe he just spends the next day just fishing to try and get his mind off of it.
Probably he just takes his burner phone with
Yeah,
him.
yeah, that's true. He's out on the lake making calls.
Yeah.
We need a bass fishing team at University of South Carolina.
You could coach it, Dave.
Yes, Dave, be the coach.
You could be a
I
coach.
could bring my two cousins
Bring
in.
your cousins. You have a coaching staff. You and your two cousins.
Champions.
You're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah,
On the way to being a national champion, Dave.
That's right.
absolutely.
One step away. Elijah's calling plays for the football team. Dave's now
Dave's-
taking over the bass fishing program.
What are we gonna do?
One step. Nothing. We got nothing.
I can start the wrestling team.
You could.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I mean, I could, teach people how to hotwire a car.
I don't think that's a recognized NCAA sport.
I don't think that is. All right, hey.
Are you sure? Let's check in with Georgia.
Yeah, no, that's just driving the cars. All right. We appreciate our call there. That was excellent. Thank you very much. All right. For some reason, this show has just gone tumbling down the side of the road.
It's okay.
Let's get it back. Let's get it back. Just in case you just woke up, what's going on in the world of sports? One thing, there's some. Well, we know what's going to happen with the first pick in the NFL draft. We know that. We'll get to that.
99.9%.
Yes. So we'll get to that next. If you haven't heard, you just woke up. We'll tell you what's going on at the top of the NFL draft next on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare on the game. Halftime show. Just in case you just woke up, we'll let you know what's going on. Tyler Heads here, David Ayer. I'm Terry Ford here on the game. All right, obviously the NFL draft will roll tomorrow. Tyler is quite happy and excited that it's finally almost over.
Yes, please. Just, I want to know where they're going. We can talk about that.
Right now, this isn't some mock drafter, but the Titans basically said yesterday they're staying at 1 and they're taking a pick. Now, could that change? Sure. Someone could say we're going to give you all of our drafts for the next 10 years for the number 1 pick. Okay. Until you actually make the pick, you can do anything.
What team
right?
would be dumb enough to do that?
No team would ever give away their whole draft to move up. Oh, yeah, they did. Never forget when New Orleans did that for Ricky Williams, and then Ricky Williams and Mike Ditka on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and Ricky Williams is wearing a wedding dress.
I did not know this.
Yes, you can look that up, Sports Illustrated. If you just Google images, you probably find it. It's an interesting cover. So the Titans are going to stick and stay at 1, and we are 99.9999999% sure that they will be taking Cam Ward, number 1 overall. Now, is Cam Ward the number 1 overall graded player in this draft? No. The top 2 graded players in this draft are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter.
Yep. But Titans do need a little bit of everything, but they really need a quarterback.
I guess my thing, look, I say this. If you are 100% sold on Cam Ward, if you have worked out Cam Ward, you've watched all of his tape, you went to the silly combine, you interviewed Cam Ward, you put him on the whiteboard to, get into the nuts and bolts of plays and what's in his head about progressions and all these things. If you've done all the process, Tyler, you've wined him, you've dined him, you've had his family around, you had a private investigator follow him around for 72 hours, you've done all of it, and in your heart of hearts, you think he's the guy, then take him.
Sure.
But if you're taking him number 1 because you need a quarterback, you're a buffoon. That's how you screw up. You've got to be all in believing he can be your franchise quarterback. You can't do this. Well, we needed a quarterback. You seen Will Levis? This is a disaster.
Yeah.
You don't draft a quarterback even though you need them. You have to draft a quarterback because you believe this is your guy, especially at number 1.
Sure.
You got to believe Cam Ward is a future franchise quarterback / special quarterback / possibly Hall of Fame quarterback.
Well,
you have to.
And also, are you willing to put what he needs around him to be successful? Because here's the thing. You can be a great quarterback. If you don't have a good offensive line, if you don't have weapons around you, you can only be so successful. And look, the first round of the NFL draft, especially the number 1 pick, is full of a graveyard of quarterbacks that have been drafted that, hey, if they're in a better situation, could probably be a lot more successful. But the fact that they went to bad organizations, because guess what? If you're picking number 1 overall, you obviously just had a bad season, and they don't get an opportunity to succeed because they are not given a complement of things around him to help.
It's one of the things no one ever talks about. We've looked over this on this show many times. Jalen Daniels last year was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He was. You know what else Jalen Daniels had on the team last year?
Weapons.
Help.
Yeah.
Yes. Washington's offensive line was solid. Their receiving core, led by Terry McLaurin, was good. The defense was better, and they could run the ball, and they did all these things. So Daniels wasn't out there, ducking and dodging pass rush and chucking it 60 times a game.
They were a team that needed a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the last piece.
They had other pieces, and they added the quarterback and a couple other things they needed to help them. And guess what? They got much better. Yeah. Now, again, that quarterback was vital, but without all these other things, that quarterback is not going to the NFC Championship game.
Right.
C.J. Stroud, with C.J. Stroud, stepped into Houston. They drafted Will Anderson, the edge pass rusher, too. They had pieces in place. They got Tank Odell, I think, in that draft also. And they put all these, they had pieces in place already. But then when you added the things that were missing, especially the quarterback, boom, here you go. It's not you drafted Daniels and all of a sudden he single-handedly made everything better.
Sure.
Because you can help me. Did he play defense?
No.
Did he play offensive line?
No.
When he threw it, did he throw it to himself?
No.
When he turned around and handed it off, did he hand it off to himself?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Needed help. And he got help. Stroud got help. In Cincinnati, Joe Burrow got his leg snapped in half because they had no offensive line. Their offensive line's never been great, but it got a little bit better. They added Jamar Chase, some pieces on defense like Trey Hendrickson, and guess what? All of a sudden, you're going to a Super Bowl. It's not all the quarterback. Don't listen to ESPN, please. There's more to a football team than just a quarterback. Is it the most important player on the team? Yes. But you need other players on the team, to your point.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You're going to draft Cam Ward number 1. Well, Tennessee needs so many other things to be better, and they got to go do it. Drafting the quarterback number 1 doesn't cure all your ails. By the way, I think I told you this. I think was it The Athletic or ESPN did a 5-year study on NFL teams' drafts. You know the team with the worst draft over the last 5 years?
Oh,
The worst drafting team in the last 5 years.
is it the Titans?
Yep. So they've earned being getting the number 1 pick. But here's the thing. So you're the worst drafting team over the last 5 years. This wasn't just John Robinson. This is also the new regime added into it as well. So what are you going to do to help Cam Ward?
Hopefully a lot.
Because that's going to be the key here. What are you going to do to help Cam Ward? And your resume lately hasn't been very good. So they're going to take Cam Ward 1, but that doesn't fix all your problems.
No.
Cam Ward's not going to make your DBs cover better or your pass rush better or your offensive line better. So we'll see. But they're going to take Cam Ward, it seems like, number 1. They're going to stay put. Now, at 2 and 3, if you got Cleveland and the Giants. If I'm those teams, I'm listening to offers to trade out.
Which apparently they are.
Because, again, my team stinks so bad, one player is not going to change me. But here's the interesting part of it. You've got 2 generational talents and the 2 best players in this draft sitting on the board at 2 if you're Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people trade up to get quarterbacks. I don't see anybody trade up to 2 or 3 to get Shedeur Sanders.
No.
I just don't think that's happening. So if someone does want to trade up, they probably want to get Hunter or Abdul Carter. But you got to listen to that trade up because you are many pieces away from being good. That one player, as good as they could be, is not going to turn your team and transform your team. They'll make you better. So you got to gauge, okay, what kind of offer did I get? And is it good enough to trade out of here and give up on Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? But if I'm those teams, I'm listening.
Sure.
Because I need more than one dude, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. The first 3 picks are interesting. And the Shedeur Sanders thing, I just think is a lot of smoke. I think some of the things I'm hearing are ridiculous to the point of asinine in how dumb it sounds. Oh, his dad might show up. Oh, God.
Well, it's a classic case of whatever team, Pittsburgh, whoever it may be, hoping that he falls a little bit further in the draft so he can be there when it's time for them to pick. And this happens every single year. There's always one high level player. It's like, hey, he got a C on his 3rd grade report card. Don't know if we want that guy in the building. And we're talking. We talked about it with Rattler last year. A little bit different situation, but the Netflix thing came up again. We're like,
Seriously?
okay, again,
Really?
he's a different guy. We can attest to it from our firsthand knowledge. And obviously ended up being 4th rounder to the Saints. So these kind of things happen every year, and it kind of seems like Shedeur Sanders might be the one that suffers because of it.
Well, I think that you hit it. People are throwing out negative stuff, so Sanders will fall to them. That's what's going on here. Speaking of that, here's the Titans GM, Mike Borgnazzi, talking about that number 1 pick. Cut 6, Dave, Titans GM.
I would say with us, it's
From today's
One day,
list.
got all
that's
kinds
Shane
of
Beamer.
different plans.
Sorry, Bob. Go to today's page, my friend.
No, we've come to a consensus. The entire organization is to stay at that pick, and I guess you'll find out Thursday night who we pick.
That tells you one of 3 things. A, they're really sold on Cam Ward, which if you're going to pick him, you better be. 2, they have not gotten any offers for crap to trade out, right?
Yeah.
Or C, they blatantly have no idea what they're doing.
It's kind of one of those things that you don't want to be selected by the girl at the dance because she didn't have anybody else. She's like, you'll do. It's like, no, I want you to actually want to dance with me.
Right. It's 1:45. Why
Yeah,
not?
why not?
I'll give you a fake name and give you the phone number to the McDonald's down the street from my house.
because you know what? That usually doesn't end up being very successful, does it?
Exactly. All right, so South Carolina, in case you just woke up and didn't realize that game did finally end in 10 innings last night. Gamecocks hold off the Osprey of North Florida 3-2. Here is Coach Mary. Let's get cut one, Dave. Paul Maneri talking about those game winners like that. Those game-winning hits are quite exciting.
Well, obviously, it was exciting to have our first real walk-off win. We had one earlier this year to make it a 10-run game, but this was our first true walk-off win, and you forget how exciting those are when you've been away from the game and you have your first one. Just real happy for KJ. It was a beautiful swing he put on that ball, and had a lot of confidence in him. Gave him the green light, 3-0. Tried to do a little bit too much with that pitch. But then with 2 strikes, he just had a great approach and tried to go the other way, and worked out well for us. I thought we pitched great all night, and it was a good victory for us.
Like baseball heads are going like this. You gave him the green light to swing 3-0? Really? You gave him the green light?
Yeah.
Swing 3-0? But look, in that situation, I guess I get coach saying, look, we need a knock to win the game. I'm going to give him a green light 3-0. He should be getting a pitch right down the middle or something he can handle, and hopefully he can barrel it and get us out of here. Didn't work, but, eventually it did with the game-winning hit. South Carolina, of course, again, beating North Florida 3-2 last night on the Scobie game-winning knock. Firehouse Sub text the hour, 803-404-6100. Probably a lot of interesting stuff about, I don't know, crew. Bass fishing?
We might be corrected on something.
All right, that's coming up on our Firehouse Sub Text Hour on the halftime show here on the game. Halftime show. We get our Firehouse sub text the hour 803-404-6100. I believe we're being corrected.
Yeah.
We're being corrected, or Dave is being corrected because
Yes,
Dave has this fantasy.
Dave has spread the misinformation to us. South Carolina does, or at least did, have a bass fishing team that apparently has won the national championship.
Oh, when did that happen?
First recently, I believe 2024. Or 2024 national runner-up. Two-time national champion. Last year, national runner-up.
Dave?
How did I not know this?
How'd you not know this, Dave?
I don't know.
Well, I don't think you're going to get to be the coach now, Dave.
I was going to say, Dave, not only were you wrong, your dream job is gone.
By the way, out of three of us, which one's the alumni of the school here? Dave.
Right.
Me. Yeah.
Just saying, Dave. Wow, you really screwed that one up. Nice job, Adair.
I know about the rugby team.
Well,
Oh,
Dave,
so-
now you're going to have to go start men's gymnastics.
I
at
think
South
you could do
Carolina.
that. I think you could do that, Dave.
There's a hockey team, too.
We know about the hockey team,
Yeah, hockey team has been good at
but
times.
that's club. That's not
club.
NCAA sponsored.
Yeah, I think.
A lot of schools have club teams.
Yeah.
Like Georgia has a wrestling team, but it's not
Yeah.
an NCAA sponsored.
So South Carolina, did we say they do not have a men's gymnastics team?
Unless it's club. I
be
think
club.
Oklahoma
It was Oklahoma.
is the only one.
Oklahoma.
I will say it is surprising to me that so few teams in the SEC have men's soccer. Like, 'cause again, Kentucky and South Carolina are the only two.
Yeah, and they're like you said, they're in the Sun Belt. I am a little surprised about that too because soccer has grown in this country,
Yeah.
and you would figure more teams in the SEC would have jumped in. Because there's soccer. I mean, Big Ten has soccer. Obviously, ACC has soccer.
ACC is kind of the
Yeah.
powerhouse of
Yeah.
soccer.
Out west, I'm guessing you see because the weather's so nice, you probably see some
Yeah.
soccer.
Arizona
going out
State, Cal.
There. So yeah, it is surprising. I think the SEC goes. You know what? We can't do everything.
We're good at that sport. We kick the ball through the goal.
Yeah. So yes, there is bass fishing, Dave.
Wow. Well, we should just support them, you know.
I
We
think
should
we gotta
have
get you out there.
more people should know about this.
I think we should get Dave out there. Get some video of Dave out there with the bass fishing team.
I'd be down for it.
Oh, I had to go to one of those things where they had a fishing tournament one time for a radio station. Dave, you go. I was like, oh, yeah, great. This will be fantastic. Yeah, they met at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, the fish usually bite better in the morning,
Yeah,
Dave.
I mean, come on, Dave. I'm not even
Listen,
a fisherman.
Dave,
I know that.
as somebody that grew up going fishing with my dad, we routinely were waking up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning to go, because he liked to be out on the lake by the time the sun came up.
Okay, this is
So
where
I'm well aware of what it takes to fish.
Did y'all
me-
go across Lake Murray in a speedboat at 4 in the morning as
wouldn't-
fast as you could
We
go?
went across Lake Oconee, which is pretty similar.
It was like, I think it was February. It's like 12 degrees. I'm freezing to death. Nobody told me,
Dave,
bring a coat.
Dave, I've spent many a mornings fishing where I couldn't feel my fingers.
So you know what, Dave? I'm getting the feeling you're getting zero sympathy from Tyler in any way, shape, or form on this, on this
I've
conversation.
fished in every conceivable type of weather you can imagine, Dave.
Yeah,
Well.
guys. See, here's why I've only fished twice in my life. When you start the sentence with "you got to get up at 3:30 in the morning," I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Finished. Done. It was like a hunting thing. I'm not a hunter, and when I lived in PA. That's a huge hunting state.
Yep.
I mean, they take off school for the first day of hunting season in PA. They have these things called Dear Lonely Lady sales because the men are gone hunting. So these dudes were like trying to get me to go hunting with them, right? And they're like, "Yeah, man." He goes, "Yeah, it's cool. We take a lot of booze. We just hang out in a cabin. We're having a good time." And I'm like, "All right, that's sounding all right." He goes, "Yeah." And then we get up at like 4 a.m. I go, "No, I'm not buying that."
You lost me.
Then they do this one. They might have been doing that just to screw them. This is back in the 90s or whatever. They said, "Yeah, what you have to do." I said, "Well, what are we doing?" He goes, "We get up in this deer stand." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Up in the air, whatever. But before you get up there, what you do is you gotta rub yourself with deer urine. I said, "Excuse me?"
Yeah,
What?
that attracts the deer.
They go, "Yeah, it attracts a deer." I said, "Okay, I think I'm out. Thanks, guys."
Now,
I'm good.
you don't have to actually use deer urine. You use something that
toxin.
smells like
Right,
deer
right.
urine. But yes, you're trying to attract
What-
the deer by smelling like pee.
Once I got the sentence, you need to put deer urine on you. I'm like, you know what? I think you guys have fun. Enjoy
Now,
yourselves.
there might be the one where you're a guy in the camp that has an authentic bottle of deer urine.
See, I'm thinking they were also messing with the newbie and like saying, I said, watch you, he'll really put deer urine on. Watch this
No,
dope.
and then you got to drink some too. Yeah.
makes the deer
Yeah.
even come
That way
close.
you sweat it out.
The deer will follow you. Every guy who's drank this has always gotten a deer.
I guarantee you somebody's gotten someone with that.
In high school, they would go deer hunting, kill a deer in the morning before school. They'd be gutting it out in the parking lot in the back of their pickup truck.
Oh, man.
Simpler
Memories,
times.
Dave.
Simpler times.
Memories, Dave.
I've gutted fish at a nice condo in Myrtle Beach one time.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'll tell you the story in a minute.
Okay. All righty. I don't know where that hour went, but it was something. Halftime show, football, and deer hunting and bass fishing and deer urine. It's all coming up at the 1 o'clock hour here on the game.
Do we have a deer team in USA?
Halftime show talking tons of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. As we roll toward the NFL draft, which is tomorrow. Talked about it a little bit in what's trending at 2. We know the Titans, again, they're going to stay put, they say. And the thought is they'll take Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami. We talk about the second and third picks, open for business, Cleveland and the Giants. If somebody offers them enough, they'll trade down, accumulate more draft capital, and somebody will go up there and get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. Looking at South Carolina, Nick Emmanwori, somewhere between, I'm guessing, between 15 and 25, Emmanwori is going to go off the board. That's my feeling. I think now there's a really good chance he'll be the first safety to go off the board ahead of Malachi Starks at Georgia.
Yep.
And we put up a little Twitter poll as we start talking about the draft. Speaking of Nick Emmanwori, let's see. Of all the places Nick Emmanwori has been projected to go, which team do you hope takes Emmanwori in the draft? There's been a lot of smoke on the Buccaneers, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Vikings. So far, the Ravens 45%, the Bills 35%, and the Bucs 11%, the Vikings 10%. Is where we're at right now. And those landing spots, I mean, you know, the Ravens, I mean, they already have Kyle Hamilton playing at one safety, so you put Hamilton and Emmanwori together, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Harrison Smith in Minnesota is getting older. Guy's been around 30 years, Harrison Smith. He's getting older. The Bills need help at safety because that safety position was not kind to Buffalo last year, and the Bucs also looking. They have Antonio Winfield, but it would be good to have another safety. So, any of those spots would be conceivably a good place for Nick Emmanwori. But right now, the Ravens lead in the vote. But we'll see where he goes. But he will go in the first round. I'm not going to sit here and say he will go in the first round.
What he did at the Combine locked him in as a first rounder, and to this point we haven't heard anything to make him tumble down the draft boards, and obviously him sitting out the second half of the bowl game didn't have any effect.
No, look, the way that played itself out was clunky, obviously, and in a perfect world, you'd rather have your guy either all in, play the whole game, or don't play the game at all, right? Obviously, there was some communication issue and all that. But in the bigger picture, Nick Emmanwori, have we heard anything ever when it comes to Nick Emmanwori off the field that we would go, huh? No. It was just miscommunication about a bowl game that he supposedly had told a coach that he was going to just play the first half. This message didn't get to Beamer, and things got a little sideways. Now, there's always two sides to every story, and I'm sure if you sat everybody down and listened to the whole thing, you're probably more confused than when you sat down.
Yeah, probably so. And again, this is not something that we've heard come up in the process since, and I don't expect it to be a factor. And look, I'm sure every team that he sat down with asked him about it. And again, when he laid it out there, it's like, oh, okay, I see how that happened.
Yeah, and we talk about this all the time with bowl games now. And we discussed it going into the Citrus Bowl. I got South Carolina's goal to win double-digit games was a real goal set up by Shane. I understand it. I do. But you just aren't – the team you play with in a bowl game, unless you're playing in the college football playoff, is most likely not going to be the team you've played the whole year with.
Yeah.
And with South Carolina, again, you don't have Rocket Sanders in the game. You only had Emmanwori for a half. You don't have players on the team – Kyle Kennard didn't play. These are guys that helped you win 9 games, and they were very important and vital, and now they're gone. How can you be the same team?
You can't.
No, and Illinois was missing a couple of pieces, too.
And look, you give him props for playing the game in general because, and look, nobody would have blamed him if he said, hey, you know what, probably going to be a first-round pick, I'm going to sit this one out. Gave you the first half, and then, with the miscommunication, sits out the second half, and I know there's a lot of people that were hot and upset in the days following, but as time has gone on, I think it's cooled.
Yeah, I think that once you take a step back and everybody breathes a little bit, and if you'd have won the game, nobody would have cared, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
And look, if you're an NFL, if I was an NFL team and I brought Nick in for a day at my facility, I would go over that. We're going to go over. We're going to talk about it.
It's a question you ask,
right?
That realistically probably takes up about 60 seconds of the entire day.
Especially because everything else with Eamon Moore, he's got a clean slate off the field. He's been a leader. There's nothing in his history that makes you go, huh?
Yeah.
This was just a moment and a thing. And
If he's the guy that was getting suspended repeatedly, running into problems in the classroom and around town and stuff like that, then okay, there's a pattern of issues that ultimately led up to what happened in the bowl game. But again, if that's the only knock you have on someone, it's not a big deal.
And you sat down and talked to him, and you got a vibe on him a little bit, and plus this, ready, then you watch his film, and then you watch again, I don't put a lot of stock in it, but you watch the Goofy Combine where he was a total physical freak of nature, and this is the only thing you've got off the field.
Yeah.
If you look at everything in totality, it's not going to knock him out of the first round. It just won't. So Nick should go in the first round, and we've discussed it. T.J. Sanders, second round, third at the latest. Kyle Kennard, ceiling is third round, floors early fifth. I feel like the sweet spot's the fourth round for him and Demetrius Knight, to be honest.
He's the one that's interesting, and I know from a combine standpoint, and even his time at the Senior Bowl maybe didn't quite go the way people thought it was going to, because I think coming out of the season we thought, hey, this guy could go second or third round pretty easily. But there's a lot of factors that go into selecting somebody, and again, the production was great, obviously here at South Carolina, but there's other areas that teams don't think he stacks up quite as well in, and he's going to get drafted. We know that. He's going to get his name called. Where he goes is going to be the question.
Yeah, I mean, look. A lot of the scouts said, well, this guy, if nothing else, can be a situational pass rusher. And if you're a situational pass rusher in the NFL and you're productive, you can have a nice long career cashing checks in the league.
Yeah.
So I think all four of those guys are going to, and it always depends on the team, obviously, but I think they'll have a nice opportunity to have solid NFL careers, if not better than solid. So those four will go. But besides that, I don't know. We're going to do here in a little bit O'Donnell Fortune's draft status through, again, The Athletic has a great scouting post, I guess, website, whatever you want to call it, called The Beast by Dane Brugler. He does it. And they grade like 17 billion players. And so we're going to go to that and see what they say about O'Donnell Fortune. We did Tonka Hemingway, DeAndre Jules yesterday. They're looked at as ceiling, 6th-round pick, floor, undrafted rookie free agents. So we'll see where all that goes. Rocket Sanders, kind of the same thing. Ceiling, 6th-round pick, floor, undrafted rookie free agent. And Sanders was, one, injury issues. Mm-hmm. He's had his injury problems in his career. So that's, if you don't see any South Carolina player get picked after those four, don't be surprised. But I feel like one or two will go. I think Torricelli Simpkins has a chance to go third day somewhere, 6th, 7th round maybe.
Sure.
So there are guys who have a chance to get drafted on the third day, but don't be surprised if none of them do, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I believe we'll see the top four go off the board by the end of the 4th round. I think they're all gone. So that's where it's at with South Carolina for the draft for all those guys. As we talk a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. I want to switch gears. Dave, get ready. Steve Sarkisian, the Texas head coach, was on Sirius XM talking about Arch Manning and handling pressure and expectations. So I'll give you an example. Pop up your little Heisman Trophy odds deal again there, Tyler. You have. Because right now, it is kind of interesting because no names, like obviously here Lenore Sellers pops off the page.
Sure.
And he's in the top 5. But, usually in years you have like somebody who had a huge season the year before and he's coming back and you go, that guy's a Heisman favorite, or something of that ilk. We don't really have that this year to the extent we've had it in past years, but what's the Heisman odds right now?
So currently tied at the top, you have Garrett Nussmeier and Arch Manning at plus 800 as of right now. And Nussmeier, again, we saw him here, is a very productive and solid quarterback in the SEC. I don't think anybody labels him as elite, but in a year where you're having a lot of transition and you're losing the high-level quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, it makes sense that these are the two guys towards the top of the list. And again, at least Garrett Nussmeier has the production because Arch Manning has not really proven anything yet.
That's where I'm going. Arch Manning has started, 3 games?
2-3 games, however long Ewers was hurt.
Came in a couple of games. Arch Manning has zero body of work, yet he's tied with, Garrett Nussmeier to have the best odds to win the Heisman right now. So to that point, here's Steve Sarkisian on Sirius XM talking about Arch Manning having to handle the pressure of all these expectations being heaped on him.
I'm going to go back to the recruiting process because I think Arch, his mom and dad, Grandpa, they have handled this so well. This guy, when you get around him, you wouldn't know that he is Arch Manning. And I know that sounds like, what do you mean? He's an awesome teammate. He works his butt off. He does it. He's not entitled to anything. He's capable of so much. He knew his role. He worked at his role, but yet he was competitive. He was frustrated that he started 2 games and then wasn't starting anymore. So I appreciated the realness in him when that was going on. But yet at the same time, he supported Quinn. He was a great teammate there. And now here's his opportunity to be the starter. I think all he's trying to do is be a great teammate. How can we lead? He knows. He's not naive. He knows we're going to have a really good defensive football team. How does he support those guys? The Anthony Hills, the Colin Simmons, the Michael Tafts of the world. At the same token, we've had a couple receivers out this spring, right? Him bringing along this young receiving group that we have and leading those guys and leading by example. At the same token, really being the face of the program right now of what that looks like and understanding that, this idea of NIL and what's happening. He's got true NIL that's going on, true name, image, and likeness with some of the opportunities he's gotten, but still keeping 2 feet on the ground and being one of the hardest working, if not the hardest working guy on the team. But I do think there's going to come a point he's not going to throw a touchdown pass every play. He's not going to finish every game 25 of 28 with 5 touchdowns and no picks. There's going to be interceptions. There's going to be a fumble at an inopportune time. And I think he's probably more prepared to deal with that than maybe the fan base. But I do think our fan base supports him so much because of the way he's handled the first 2 years. But I think they're going to give him some grace. But I think some grace is going to be needed.
I cannot wait because they open up the year at Ohio State in the Horseshoe. They're going to go out there, and let's say they go 3 and out on the first drive, over to whatever the Texas message board is. I don't think Arch is it. This guy can't cut it. He's a bust.
Can't play.
Because there's going to be that portion of the fan base. He's not it.
Oh.
Get Quinn back.
I miss Quinn.
I miss Quinn Ewers, which is a statement that I don't think anybody ever thought they'd say.
Well, they do a morning show, Message Board Mania.
Yeah.
Oh, there'll be some message board mania about Arch if they go 3 and out and he throws an incomplete pass.
Yep.
God forbid he throws a pick or a pick 6.
Are we sure this guy's a Manning?
Right. What was it? Put him on Maury Povich.
Yeah.
We got to get his DNA checked. We need a paternity test. This guy can't be a Manning.
Did Cooper adopt this kid?
Yeah, there's
What's
no
going
way
on?
he's a Manning. So, yeah, it's good. It's going to be insane. And all the expectation on Arch Manning is insane. Now, look, the little bit you saw him, it doesn't take a genius to go, oh, yeah, he's got game. He's got potential. He's got everything you want. But he's never done it for a whole year. He's never been the man. After watching him play when Ewers was out, and then watching Ewers play, because I don't know how much Quinn Ewers got better. Quinn Ewers was kind of who he was, right?
Sure.
That's, he did some things well. He had some limitations, and he was a good starting quarterback in college football. He wasn't great. He wasn't a difference maker, but he was good, and he had a ton of talent around him. Watching Arch Manning in that offense, and then watching Quinn Ewers, I was sitting there last year thinking, is Texas better with Arch Manning? He throws the ball down the field more. He can make more big plays down the field because, Quinn Ewers got the point he didn't want to throw it down the field.
Yeah. Well, and there was a point during the season when they played that game against Georgia in October, and Quinn Ewers couldn't do anything. And they put Arch Manning in. If Arch Manning got down there and led the team on a couple of scoring drives and they won the game, he's never surrendering that starting job again.
We had this conversation.
There was that moment where Sark was truly ready to turn the page over to Arch Manning, but he couldn't go out there and do anything either, so it went back to Ewers.
If Arch Manning leads Texas on a couple of touchdown drives in that Georgia game, Quinn Ewers is never the starting quarterback again.
Yes, that was the opportunity.
That was it.
And again, if that happens against any other team, when he goes out there and scores some touchdowns and they win the game that way, then who knows?
Halftime show. Terry Ford Tyler had more football yapping up until 2 on the game. Halftime show. Talking football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. And David Ayer punching the buttons. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. All right, transfer portal news. Nothing really going on with South Carolina in football. Bo Atkinson, the edge from North Carolina. We heard about him being interested in South Carolina being interested in him last week. Right now, he's had visits scheduled to Ohio State and Georgia. No visits scheduled yet to South Carolina. Some of these folks who predict this for a living are looking at Atkinson possibly to Ohio State. We'll see. Besides that, really nothing new in the transfer portal for South Carolina. Before it's all said and done, could I see maybe interior defensive lineman, an edge, someone of that nature? No one's going to wow you most likely, but someone who could help the depth of the football team. I feel like that's where it's going to go. I don't think South Carolina gets a wide receiver in the portal. I just don't. I think they probably walked away from spring practice and the spring game feeling really good about what they're doing at wide receiver, even though it's a bunch of youngins and no one has got any past history of big productivity with South Carolina. I still feel like between Mazio Bennett, Nick Harbor, Brown, and all the freshmen, and throw in Jacobs, I feel like South Carolina is like, we're good here.
Yeah, and I am not knowledgeable on any elite wide receiver that's sitting in the portal right now, or somebody that is, gone in this spring cycle. And again, you brought in a guy like Campbell last year, and there was optimism that, okay, he had played on some pretty bad Nevada teams, and maybe coming here, he'll blossom into something. He certainly made some plays down the stretch last year, and very well could have had a touchdown against Clemson as well. But he never quite emerged as that true number one like some people thought he could be. So again, unless you just have a guy that for sure is going to make your team better, then there's no reason to go out there and add anybody, it doesn't seem like.
No, it does feel like where it's going again. Things can always change because they could be changing right now while we're talking. But that's where it feels like it stands right now. Okay, so the college football playoff crew is meeting in Texas.
Yep.
Feels like somebody's always meeting.
Oh, God. But between the end of the season, we've had the commissioners meeting, the coaches have met, this is like the fifth time the committee people have met already to tell us nothing up to this point.
I love committees.
We all do.
Who loves committees?
Yeah, Mike Leach.
Mike Leach.
Coffee, we can talk, we can have dinner together, we can stay in the same hotel room. It'll be great.
That riff from Mike Leach will never get old. And he's so right.
He is.
That's the funniest part. We'll see some things, right, from a few years ago, and they kick and resonate so much now, even more than they did back then.
Did you see? So Alyssa Lang finally got married. It was a couple weeks ago or whatever.
So good.
And she even put in her long post about apologies to Coach Leach for not eloping like he said to do 4 years ago.
That was so funny. Leach's riff with Alyssa Lang and Leach's riff with the reporter who covered Washington State who was getting married.
Yeah.
That was gold.
Your wife's going to lose her mind. Her sister's going to lose her mind. Your mother's going to lose her mind. And he's basically saying, shut up and stay out of the way.
Exactly.
Hey, good. It's good advice.
He's so good. I miss Mike Leach. He's so good. So they're meeting again, and Ohio State Athletic Director Russ Bjork told the leaders of the college football playoff Tuesday that the sports calendar needs changed, and it's a critical component as they consider the playoff's future format. Now, Bjork, what else here? Talked about with the other athletic directors were also there who participated in semifinals, hosted first-round games. Texas AD Chris Delaconte was there, Penn State AD Pat Kraft, Notre Dame's athletic director Pete Pavakwa. They were all there talking with the folks in the College Football Playoff Committee. And yes, look, the calendar needs to be changed. Now, like everything in college athletics, it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, well, he's joining the list of 10 billion people that have pointed out how stupid the calendar is.
I mean, if you look at December, it's asinine.
It's like,
it just is.
You're preparing for a bowl game or a playoff game. You're signing your 20 next year class, and then you're also having guys going in and out of the transfer portal, all happening at the same time.
That's all.
Oh, by the way, Christmas is next week, so good luck.
It's ridiculous and needs to get fixed. And look, I fully understand that there's this thing called classes, and they start in January.
Yes.
And these are still college students as much as we're talking about everything else that we get into. And they have to actually stay eligible in college, and they have to either they go to class or somebody takes their test form or whatever.
We don't ask.
We don't care because we don't.
As long as somebody's getting a grade.
Right. Exactly. I always loved that. I remember as I started getting older and kind of, got more, I guess, well versed in all this.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I was like, look, I don't care what their GPA is. I'm not rooting for them in English class.
Sure.
Keep them eligible.
Look, and this isn't all the student athletes, but when you go to a major Division I university, you see quite a few of them, and you're like, yeah, if it wasn't for the sport, this guy wouldn't be here.
Right. And that's the way they get the opportunity to go to a really good school that they probably wouldn't have had a chance to go to if they weren't really good at some sport. So just keep them eligible. I don't care. Because go out and play. Not my job to worry about you being eligible or worry about your GPA or worry if you're an honor student or what your major is. I'll be like Cardell Jones. I want you to major in football or basketball or whatever I care about.
What did Muschamp say? 100,000 people don't show up to watch a kid take a test?
Exactly. So anyway, the calendar's ridiculous. I know there's classes in January, and you just can't just bulldoze everything. I understand, but you got to make this thing make more sense.
Sure.
And it feels like, can you move the recruiting deadline? Do you want to move it back to February again where it used to be and get away from the early sign? Because really, early signing day has become the day.
Yeah, we don't, what? National Signing Day happened this year. We didn't even realize it.
No, we barely talked about it. I mean, our signing day special here on the game is early signing day. We don't do anything for February 4th anymore. Do you move it back to February 4th? Do you move it earlier, right when the school year starts?
Yeah, like late summer.
But I think that's one thing you can do pretty easy is move that recruiting National Signing Day. And I almost think put it at the beginning of the year and be done with it. That way the kid goes into their senior year. They can just play whatever sport they're playing, whatever's going on. They're playing football. You're signed. You're done. Now you're playing your senior year, and you know where you're going for your freshman year of college football. But if you want to put it back to February 4th, I'm not going to fight with you about it. I don't care. No. You just got to get it out of the you got to get it out of December now. It just doesn't work. So that's number one that would help everything. And then do you just concentrate on the portal in December, or do you move the portal to another spot too? Because again, like you said, you either got a bowl game or a college football playoff game to deal with. And if you move the portal, then you could actually maybe have more guys playing bowl games.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. I'm just throwing it out there.
Because, how many teams just were gutted? What was it? Was it Marshall that didn't even get to play their bowl game because they lost so many guys?
They lost their coach. They lost, 50 players, whatever it was. So, yeah, something you have to make sense of December.
Sure.
And it's not difficult. Maybe you move some things in other directions, but you at least have to move the signing day, at least. All right, we have baseball Friday here on the game. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, taking on Kentucky. 6:15 Friday pregame, 6:30 first pitch right here on the game in Columbia, and also our affiliate 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. We are yapping nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. I found a story that I think is quite interesting. I'm going to read you the headline. AFC coordinator, quote, Alabama dodged massive transfer portal exodus with Jalen Milroe leaving. Let's get into this story, because I just saw it a minute ago on the game. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Braves are doing a little afternoon tilt right now. Cardinals are up on Atlanta. It's early, though. This thing hasn't been going too long when we look at the...
they collapsed in the last 2 innings last night.
Yeah.
Gave up 6 runs.
Yeah,
So,
right now they're sitting after 5, a pitcher's duel in Atlanta, 1-0.
Yeah.
Cardinals lead the Braves. That's okay. Mikolas is pitching for St. Louis. He's due to leave the game with some kind of thigh or hamstring tweak. So then you'll get the Cardinals bullpen.
You know, it's funny because the Braves obviously started off 0-7, and it takes a while to claw out of that hole. They're still 5 games under 500.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe by Memorial Day they'll be even.
Since that start, they are 9-7.
Yeah, that's
They'll
true.
get there.
That's true.
They'll get there, get some guys healthy, but right now 1-0.
Well, and, you know,
Cardinals with
Strider
the
can
Braves.
avoid not getting injured tripping over a Lego or something next time.
Best one was a Tom Glavine. He got hurt packing a suitcase or lifting a suitcase on a plane or something. If you ever get bored, Google pitchers' weird injuries.
Oh, it happens all the time. In fact, one of my radio shows I still listen to out of Atlanta, they always joke that whenever they hear particularly a baseball player, get hurt in a freak accident, they assume it is something that happened while they were doing something else, that they're too embarrassed to give you the real reason, so they come up with a lame excuse of, oh, yeah, I was taking a shower and slipped. Okay, sure.
Well,
No,
Jeff
you're doing
Kent-
something else.
Jeff Kent, back in the day, who played for the Giants, excellent offensive player.
His son plays for A&M.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Kent wasn't the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, I heard everybody hated the guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Only guy
People
that
sided with Barry Bonds over him. That tells you everything you need to know.
pretty bad in that clubhouse between Kent and Bonds. But Kent hurt him. I think his hand in a motorcycle accident. And part of his contract, there was language in there about him riding motorcycles or doing
it's
stuff.
like when Gant broke his leg
Yeah,
riding the dirt bike.
exactly.
Yep.
So Kent lied and said he hurt his hand washing his car, or something like that. To your point.
Right.
All right, a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. This was very interesting. All right, so according to an AFC coordinator, doesn't say offensive or defensive coordinator, Jalen Milroe leaving to go to the NFL draft stopped what could have been a mass exodus of players from Alabama. You're saying, well, what are you talking about? He seems like a good guy. Everybody talk positive about Jalen Milroe. Seems like a leader, a good fellow, whatever.
Sure.
Here's the deal. Quote from the coordinator. He's a 22-mile-per-hour guy basically running. That's how fast he is. He's got a fastball that's not very accurate. He doesn't know when to take anything off the ball. We heard out of Alabama all the skill position player guys would have transferred if Milroe would have came back. He wants to be known as a pocket quarterback, but your best skill is your freaking fast. So basically, they don't want to come back and catch passes from Jalen Milroe because he throws them real hard and they're not very accurate.
Well, that's kind of goes back to when we dive into his numbers of how accurate a passer he is, and he can throw you a deep ball all day long, get Ryan Williams down the field and all those kind of things, but it's that intermediate stuff that he struggled with. And yeah, when you're throwing 90 miles an hour to a guy that's, 10 yards down the field from you, that's a little bit different than heaving it 30 yards down the field.
It's like, dude, you threw a screen, you broke both my hands. It's a screen pass, pal. Come on.
It's like I'm in the flat. Please throw me a lollipop.
Come on. So I thought that was very interesting. If that is true, in our world, nothing surprises me anymore.
Sure.
But could you see Milroe announces coming back to Alabama next day, all wide receivers go in the portal?
Yeah. Well, is Ty Simpson that much better of an option? He seems to be leading the way.
We'll see.
But even that was kind of a question mark through spring.
We'll see. But Milroe, if you just talk about him when it's regarding the draft, it's almost like Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
And Milroe is projected in the second round tops because, again, he's not accurate throwing the ball in the intermediate and short areas. But he takes off and runs. I mean, he's unstoppable on the ground.
Sure.
He can throw a deep ball decent. It's just he struggles with footwork mechanics, throwing the ball, short, intermediate, all these little quarterback things you got to get better at. So you draft him, I don't know, second, third round, wherever, and make him a developmental quarterback, guess what? That's fine.
Okay.
You don't draft him 5th overall or whatever. If you would have drafted Anthony Richardson in the second or third round,
Have him sit.
and have him sit and learn how to play quarterback.
It's great.
Who knows? It might have worked out for you. But the fact you took a raw dude who has started very few games,
Injured all the time.
and has been injured constantly, and you say, you know, it'd be a great idea. Start him right away.
Yep.
Great idea. So, again, Jalen Milroe in the second or third round or whatever, have at it. Then you can sit him and develop him, and hopefully you can make a quarterback out of him. But I think it's funny. Man, if that dude comes back in quarterbacks, I'm transferring. Why? Look at my hands. I got 3 broken fingers. Very interesting story on Jalen Milroe. We have breaking Gamecock news, right?
We do.
Let's go to our correspondent, Tyler Head, right outside the football complex on the campus of the University of South Carolina. What do you got there, Tyler?
Yeah, so this is per Pete Nakos of On 3 that Campbell edge rusher George Wilson has committed to South Carolina. Guy that started his career at Florida State before going to Campbell at the FCS level. Past year had 11 solo tackles, 4 sacks, and 1 forced fumble, and 7 sacks he's had 7 sacks in 2 seasons, with the fight in Campbell. So again, South Carolina addressing the edge position. Again, that's guy that's going to be transitioning up from FCS, but was a 3-star coming out of high school when he originally committed to Florida State out of Virginia Beach.
So there you go again, depth piece, and we'll see where it goes from there. If nothing else, hopefully he's just going to be a depth piece to help you out. If you need him, great. How many years of eligibility does he have left?
Let's see. That is a good
we don't
question.
know any of that stuff anymore.
We don't, but okay, so I'm assuming he redshirted at Florida State. He's played 2 years at Campbell. I'm assuming he's going to have multiple ones. Let's see.
He should have a couple, right?
I think so.
Now, since we've been talking, has anybody sued to make your FCS years null and void?
That's coming.
Sure it is.
I was talking about that with you the other week. I'm like, it starts off with junior college, then D2, D3, FCS, group of 5. It's coming. You laugh, but it's coming.
That was actually funny. Hey, man, I played at Memphis. That's not the Power League.
Listen.
I need my eligibility back.
There's a difference in NIL earning potential at Ball State and Alabama. I'm just saying.
That is actually fun. All right, so again, George Wilson, correct?
Correct.
Coming in from Campbell. Had some sacks in a couple years at Campbell. Should have a couple years of eligibility, we think. And just, again, a guy who's, if nothing else, a rotational piece, and who knows what he can be. Jared Verse came from a place most people never even heard of, went to Florida State, and was a second-round pick in the NFL draft and was Rookie of the Year.
There you go. Who knows?
I'm saying those are small percentage stories, but you never know what you never know. But right now it feels like a George Wilson could be, if nothing else, hopefully just a depth piece you could add that could help you out if need be. That's the latest from the Gamecocks. A transfer portal edition. Halftime show, Firehouse Subtext. The hour is next, 803-404-6100. We roll till 3 here on the Game. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Firehouse Sub text the hour in a minute, and we have a Monster Jam tickets to give away as well. First of all, Pro Football Focus numbers on George Wilson Jr. at Campbell. Pass rush grade, and again, it's not the end-all be-all, but it gives you a little bit of a window into the player. George Wilson Jr., his pass rush grade was 77.
That's pretty darn good.
That's pretty darn good. On the season, 19 total pressures in 164 pass rush situations, 19 total pressures. Pressure percentage, let's see, hurries 12, sacks 4, win rate, which is what's the percentage you beat, the offensive lineman, 11.1, which was second on the team. Jalen Brooks was the only pass rusher with a better overall grade than Wilson. So Wilson had the second best pass rush grade on the Campbell squad at almost 77. So that's good. Now the run grade, not so good. Missed a few tackles in the run game, but pass rush, Wilson was on it.
Yeah, and like you said, if he could come in and be a situational pass rusher or something along those lines, it'd be great. Obviously, that's a transition from FCS up to FBS and the SEC. So we'll see. Again, you already have guys in the room that are going to be kind of your leaders there, and if he can find his way onto the field, then, hey, we'll take it.
Absolutely. So we'll see where that goes, but that's just give you a little insight on Wilson. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour, 803-446-100. What you got, man?
Reference to what we mentioned about Arch Manning a little bit earlier on. Brian says, how likely do you see people voting for Arch Manning because they feel bad that Peyton didn't win the Heisman? To avenge something the family's not been able to hold.
Can I tell you something? I mean, we might giggle about that, and I don't know how
I guarantee you there'd be somebody that would be, though.
But yes. Look, if you ever saw the list of people that vote for the Heisman, there are some people you go, oh, absolutely. And there's some people you're like, how did you get a vote?
Yep.
And I could see former Heisman winners get a chance to vote.
They do, yep.
How many of those guys who could be boys with Peyton Manning go, man, Peyton got screwed. Let's get a Manning a Heisman. That is not out of the realm of possibility at all.
Did really get screwed, though, because Charles Woodson he's good, man.
Charles Woodson had a really good year.
The Heisman race of that 98, that was a really good 30 for 30.
That 30 for 30 was excellent, wasn't it? Especially because everybody just thought it's Peyton Manning's award.
Of course.
Coming into that year, and really, what do you think, halfway or almost 3/4 through the year, it was still Peyton Manning's award.
It seemed that way.
The Charles Woodson push in the last quarter of the season, and then, of course, they won the Rose Bowl and everything else, and got a piece of the national championship or whatever. Just that last quarter of the season into the postseason where Woodson just all of a sudden steamrolled his way into that Heisman.
Was it the Florida game that Peyton was bad?
Had the rough game, and that cracked the door open.
Opened it up, and the one thing the Manning family has not won, the Heisman Trophy.
Yep, think about that for a minute. So, Texter, anything's possible when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Definitely so, and again, you don't have to make your ballot public, so if you say, I feel like Peyton got shafted, so Arch is going to win it for me.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Nothing would surprise us. We've seen dudes win awards and we go, huh?
Yeah.
What? And to me, it's worse in baseball with the MVP voting. Because, look, not all sports writers are like this, but some of them think they're the gatekeepers of the heavenly gates of baseball. And they take it way too seriously to the point of they're not objective. If a guy diss them on an interview, they won't vote for him. They make it about them.
Oh, sure.
And they don't make it about who should be in the Hall of Fame or who should be an who should win MVP.
It's like the people when it comes to voting for the Hall of Fame of nobody can be unanimous because Babe Ruth wasn't unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Well, when you have that kind of logic, okay. Yeah. Like the MVP, I think at times that, for an example, Albert Bell got screwed out of an MVP. If you look at the year the Cleveland Indians coming off the strike, dominated baseball, won 100 games in a 142-game season. I think Bell that year went 50-50, 50 doubles, 50 homers or whatever, but was so hated by the media. And I get it. Albert Bell, look, he played for the Orioles.
Sure. Not
the nicest human being in the world. But the media so hated Albert Bell, they gave, I believe Mo Vaughn won the MVP. That's just the way the media is. Darryl Strawberry got screwed out of it one year because the media didn't like Strawberry because he wasn't media friendly. I saw Eddie Murray get screwed out of it in Baltimore for Cal Ripken because Cal Ripken was media friendly and Eddie Murray wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It just, baseball's the worst. But circling back to this, so anything that's voted on by people, well, we've seen the college football playoff voting when there was, the committee.
Yeah.
Anytime human beings are involved in a vote, they are not objective typically, and they are going to vote with their heart in a lot of instances, and the Manning family is loved. So could I see people throwing, if Arch Manning has a great year and it's close with someone else, could I see people going, you know what, this is a family award?
Maybe so.
They could see it. Wouldn't surprise me.
And what a story that would be.
Oh,
we all root for stories.
That's a story, right?
The prodigal nephew.
Prodigal nephew. And you know what would be ironic the most? The guy that didn't play quarterback would have a kid that goes wins a Heisman.
Well, they always said that Cooper was the better athlete out of all of them. He just never got his chance because of his medical stuff.
Yeah. And he wasn't even a quarterback.
He wasn't a quarterback. He was a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Apparently a darn good one. But, yeah, that would be kind of funny that, Cooper has the kid that ends up being the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
Pretty interesting. All right, we got Monster Jam tickets to give away. What are the dates on the old Monster Jam real quick,
that is
Tyler?
coming up this weekend over at Colonial Life Arena. Make sure we're talking about the right day here. Family 4-pack. 4 packs. I believe there's multiple ones.
We're giving away 5 family 4-packs on the text line
for
right now.
Saturday night at 7 over at CLA. On a text line, 803-404-6100.
Again, please text, don't call, 803-404-6100. 5 family 4-packs to the first 5 folks who text. And when you text Monster Jam.
Yes.
The first 5 folks to text Monster Jam at 803-404-6100 will win a family 4-pack.
And if you're a winner, Jeannie will text you asking for a little bit more information.
All right, our promotion guru, Jeannie. Again, 803-404-6100. First 5 people to text Monster Jam will win a family 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam this Saturday. That is the deal. All right, what's trending at 2? The Braves and the Cardinals are playing right now. St. Louis in the 7th inning, leading in a pitcher's duel, 1-0 over Atlanta. Something interesting happened with the Braves last week regarding not running hard out of the batter's box and their star player, who, by the way, is not playing because he's injured.
Right.
It's a very interesting little story we haven't gotten to yet. And since the Braves are playing, let's get into it and what's trending at 2. Also, we'll get you caught up on baseball with the Gamecocks. Their win last night over North Florida. It is the halftime show. We're here till 3 on the game. Personalized service is like huge. It just is today. Everybody's in a hurry. Everything's so cookie cutter. But you want things personalized to you. It's human nature. That's what we all want. Because everybody's got different tastes. Everybody's got different budgets. Everybody's got different goals. And that's what the Nest is kind of built on Gadsden and the Vista, is personalized service. Everything they do is catered to each individual. That's why we always say, if you want, to get new appliances, do new stuff in your bathroom, new lighting, new fixtures, whatever the case, new plumbing, you call the Nest and say what you're looking to do, and they'll put you in touch with an expert. That expert will then talk with you about your goals and your budget and what you'd like to do with your home. Then you come in and look around the vast showroom. You sit back down again, and they will personalize your experience for what you want in your budget and your vision. 803-978-2025. Personalized service is what they do at the Nest on Gadsden in the Vista. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Tristan's Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Jackson Soucy started it off last night with 5 shutout innings. Only 3 hits, no walks. Cade, 3. Osprey. Actual Osprey, by the way.
Is that the plural of that bird? Ospreys? Osprey, perhaps?
Osprey, I'm guessing, probably. Yeah. Ospreys?
Ospreys.
So Jackson, really good last night. 5 innings of shutout ball. Ashton Crowther came in, threw 3 innings, gave up 1 earned run. And, then there was the run off the misplay, off the error, that led to the second South Florida run. North Florida, I'm thinking South Florida for some reason, North Florida run. So, and then South Carolina came back, the game-winning knock by Scobie, a double to score Hollins, 3-2, South Carolina won. Speaking of our boy Jackson, who threw 5 shutout last night, here's Paul Mainieri talking about can Jackson help on the weekend. Cut 2, Dave, from Paul Mainieri.
Yeah, that's why I took him out after the 5th inning. His pitch count was still very manageable, but this way we can have him available for Sunday if necessary.
There you go. And we'll see. The pitching has been a thing all year, so we'll see where that goes. But Dylan Eskew, obviously, we're waiting to find out what's going on with him. We'll get an injury report before 3 o'clock, or injury report from Samuel Reynolds Law Group. But again, you're trying to put together a weekend staff, and the Dylan Eskew injury has hurt you. Matthew Becker, all of a sudden, forgetting how to throw a strike hurt you.
Yep.
Again, McCoy's got tons of arm talent, probably the most arm talent of any starter. It's just his command, his last start, phenomenal with command against Ole Miss. We'll see if he can repeat that this weekend against Kentucky. But you're trying to figure it out with your starting pitching, Tyler. It's been that way. The pitching has been a thing all year.
Yeah, it has. No, and again, last weekend, you saw through the first 2 games between Stone and McCoy, when it's good, hey, guess what? You can win games. And then it went sideways on Saturday, but last night continued on against Soucy, a great outing there. And, your bullpen came in and did a pretty solid job. And again, one of those runs was not earned on them because it was an error in the field. But you hope this is momentum going forward because, again, you're going to need good pitching for the next month if you want to win enough games to get yourself in the postseason.
And, with Soucy, he'd most likely pitch Sunday if needed. But you've just had a problem all season. You had a problem with the Friday night starter for a bit,
yep.
And now and all year you've kind of had an issue with who's going to throw Sunday.
Well,
how many times is TBA throwing on Sunday this year?
Yeah, our favorite player. I was going back and looking, and it seemed I'm struggling to think of how many times they've had the same starting 3 in back-to-back weekends this year because it has been many times
since early in the year. Probably once, maybe twice,
maybe, but haven't been a lot.
No. All right, so South Carolina last night against Scobie with the big knock and extras. Nathan Hall ripped a 2-run homer, his only hit. South Carolina had 9 hits on the night, and you ready for this? Walked 9 times. South Carolina, that's 18 base runners with walks and hits last night, and you just couldn't break through.
Prior to Scobie driving in Jordan Carrion, they were 0 of 11 with runners in scoring position. They left the bases loaded in the bottom of the 8th where they could have gotten enough runs to essentially end the game there. But, yeah, a lot of missed opportunities, which, again, that has been a consistent problem for this team this year.
A lot, and really the hits were scattered everywhere. Scobie was the only player with two base hits. Everybody else had 1 hit. It just, again, you had your opportunities. You couldn't cash them in. But, hey, the important thing is your pitching was really good, and you found a W. Now it's on to Lexington, Kentucky, a 3-game series starting Friday. 6:15 pregame, 6:30 first pitch right here on the Game in Columbia, and also our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. My guess is McCoy will take the ball.
Probably.
That's my guess. So we'll see what goes on from there. And then Saturday, 4:15 pregame, Sunday, 12:45 pregame, the 3-game series against Kentucky. We've said it, and we'll say it again. You got to win the series.
Yep.
You just have to win the series. Anything less really puts you behind the 8 ball. You got to at least pull 2 out of 3 against a team, by the way, who boat raced Louisville.
Yep. And took 2 out of 3 on the road at Tennessee. And by the way, feels like we said that a couple weeks ago about A&M, and guess what? You lost all those games too. Or they won. They won one of those
No,
games.
remember, they got swept. They should have
That's
won
right.
2 of them.
That's right.
All right,
It all
also,
runs together at some point.
yes. Also, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. George Wilson has come to South Carolina football through the transfer portal, played at Campbell on the FCS level. Second best pass rusher on the team last year. Pro Football Focus grade of about 77 as a pass rusher, so a good pass rusher. Not much against the run, but really good going after the quarterback. Has committed to South Carolina. So that's the first piece to come South Carolina. Well, second piece, Clowney also.
Yeah.
Second piece to come through the portal for South Carolina, and both were on the defensive line.
Correct.
So that's the latest news with South Carolina. What's going on there? No new news in the men's or women's basketball transfer portals as of now. We're still waiting to see what Gianna Neepkins does. The phenomenal shooter from Utah who came in here over the weekend. Still hasn't committed anywhere. We talked about this. If you can add a third player of that ability through the portal to go with your recruiting class you also have coming in and your returners, you got a pretty good squad going into next year for Dawn Staley. So that's the latest there. All right, the Braves right now have tied it at 1. I don't know what happened.
Michael Harris had a RBI just a moment ago.
Who has struggled this year? Michael Harris with an RBI to tie the game at 1. Marcell Ozuna, who has not struggled this year, is now at the plate in the 7th inning in a 1-1 game.
Consistent thing they've had at the plate this year.
I mean, Austin Riley's gotten it going lately, but
turned it up a little bit.
It's been Ozuna the whole year.
Now that Sean Murphy's come back, he seems to hit a home run every time he comes up to the plate, which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
You think you'll keep that going the rest of the year?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
But hey, for now, it's good.
All right, so Jared Kelnick, I forget what night it was last week.
It was the weekend series against Minnesota.
Kelnick hits a ball, thinks it's out, is watching it, finds out it's not out, then takes off, and I believe gets thrown out at second base.
Correct.
After the game, Snit gets asked about it, said he didn't really see it, and then addressed it with Kelnick once he found out what happened.
Yeah,
right?
and he was basically defended him, saying, thought it was out and slowed up and all that kind of stuff, and basically, excused it.
And which he shouldn't, but he did. But then something interesting happened. Someone went to social media and said, I'm paraphrasing, if it were me, I'd have got taken out of the game.
Yeah, so Mark...
Who would that guy be, Tyler?
That'd be Ronald Acuna Jr. So Mark Bowman, who covers the Braves for MLB.com, was responding to a fan's tweet asking him about what Snitker said, and he essentially, put the transcript of what Snitker said about it, and Acuna replied, if it were me, they would take me out of the game.
Because guess what happened a few years ago?
That exact thing happened to him.
Acuna didn't get thrown out. He stopped it first.
Yes.
If my memory serves me. Acuna hits a ball. He thinks it's out. So he's lollygagging to first, thinking he's got, just like Kelnick, thinking he's hit a home run. Ball hits off the wall, just like Kelnick. Acuna Jr. stopped. So Acuna Jr. didn't get thrown out.
Yeah. He realized he was not going to make it to second base if he tried to go.
And got taken out of the game by Snit. And then a few years later, Kelnick does the same thing, doesn't get taken out of the game, and Snit takes up for him and, all this other stuff. Then Acuna Jr., and I get it. Acuna Jr.'s like, wait a minute. Hold
what the heck,
here.
man?
And here's where this thing goes in a bunch of different directions. First of all, Snit was wrong.
Yeah.
Flat out wrong. Kelnick should have been taken out of the game. If Snit missed it, then Kelnick gets benched.
Mm-hmm.
And you let everybody know, Kelnick, because you let everybody know about Acuna Jr.
Sure. You're setting an example.
Yes. You have set the example. And I agreed with what he did with Acuna Jr., by the way, years ago.
Sure. And that's when he was in second year. So young guy, learning opportunity, all that kind of stuff.
So if you did it to Acuna Jr., you got to do it to Kelnick. And if you missed it for whatever reason, you were managing and doing something, and you missed it, and no one brings it to your attention, and you can't handle it then, you got to handle it after the game. There's got to be a consequence because there's a consequence to Acuna Jr.
Sure.
You follow me?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right, Acuna Jr. probably should have, I don't know, he's got a cell phone because he texted. I'm thinking Acuna Jr. should talk to his manager before he shoots the tweet.
Yeah, this is a bad look all around for your team that these kind of things are taking place in the public eye, where opposed to, hey, coach, noticed you didn't have any problem with Jared doing it. What's the deal here? And again,
What's up with me?
hashing that out man to man after the game or in the clubhouse or whatever it may be would have been the better way to go about it. But again, if that happens, then we're not probably talking about it in the same way because it's not as big of a headline.
Right.
But that was that's kind of the drama of the weekend for the Braves.
It was a bad look for everybody. And the only thing, I was trying to think about this with Snicker. The only thing I can think of is this. Follow me really fast.
Okay.
Now, again, I think Snit screwed it up.
Sure.
But I'm always big on the why. You know me. I like this kind of goofy stuff. Acuna Jr. is a very flamboyant player.
Yes.
He's a guy that, when he's playing the game, he hits a ball deep, he's watching it, right?
Believe me, there are a lot of fans in Atlanta that had to get used to his style of play.
But I remember it was McCann and Freddie Freeman, and those guys had a talk with Acuna Jr. early in his career about the way he played the game.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's another conversation for another day we're not going to get into. Because I got thoughts on that one, too. We won't go there right now. So Acuna Jr. was looked at as a guy who played the game in a certain way, like a lot of Latin American players play, very flamboyant, very emotional.
He's got the chains. He's, does his little Euro step around third base when he hits a home run,
Yeah,
like
bat
those kind of things.
flips,
Bat flips.
the whole spiel.
He's very eccentric.
All right, so then he doesn't run out a ball, and it ends up being a single. You got guys in the clubhouse who might be not happy with his way he plays the game because it's not the right way. I just did air quotes. What is the right way is another. Again, it's another topic for another day.
You better not show any joy of hitting that home run.
Baseball is not about happiness.
Yes.
And so maybe Snit did that to Acuna Jr. because he wanted Acuna Jr. to, in some way, conform to the understanding of, hey, bub, sometimes you got to drop the flamboyant and go hustle.
Yeah.
And two, that played to the clubhouse of guys who weren't down with Acuna's style of play.
Sure.
Jared Kelenic does not have any of that.
No, he's somebody that plays the game the right way.
He just plays the game the way, ready? Wink, wink, Tyler, the right way.
Yes, outside of his production on the field, there's not a whole lot about Jared Kelenic that really stands
He
out.
ain't bat flipping.
No,
he's not,
just-
dub stepping anywhere.
He is a baseball player. That's what he is.
And again, Kelenic doesn't have a bunch of guys in the clubhouse who might not be happy with the style of play.
God, how long has Kelenic been around for now? He's been around for a few years.
He was a former first-round pick. He got for the Mets, and he went to Seattle, and he's bounced around.
This isn't a guy that's in his first or second year.
No, he knows not to do what he did.
Sure.
That's why he should have also
he just
been
had a
punished.
oblique moment, and yeah.
But you got to be consistent if you're Snicker, and if you're going to sit down Acuna Jr., you got to sit down Kelenic. But as I'm trying to think of the mindset, maybe that's part of this. Is that in that moment with Acuna Jr. being a young player with the clubhouse dynamic around Acuna Jr., that could have been sending a message to Acuna Jr. and the clubhouse.
Do you think he actually remembered doing that to Acuna when he's talking about this over the weekend? I'd be willing to bet he probably didn't.
Which again, that makes it to me worse. In a way, right? Because I think you specifically were sending a message to Acuna Jr. back then and also sending a message to that clubhouse.
Yeah.
With Kelenic, if you just didn't do it because, Jared's always a hustler and he plays the game the right way. And I'll say we don't have a ton of time, but I will say this. I love the way Latin American players play the game.
Sure, it's fun. It's exciting.
I love Have you ever watched a game that they'll show the Caribbean World Series or something?
Yeah.
And maybe because I've gotten older, I love watching people enjoy themselves.
Nobody has more fun than them playing baseball.
And I love it. I do. And American players, and we've been taught to be, you can't have fun. You can't show up this and you can't do that.
Act like you've been there before.
Yeah. And I'm just like, if you hit a ball 440 bleeping feet and you want to sit there in the moment and enjoy what you just did,
yeah.
What's wrong with that?
As long as you're not giving the pitcher the bird as you're rounding the bases, I'm good with it.
I'll give you a wrestling, the old school Degeneration X suck it sign.
Exactly.
As
long as you're not degrading the other people on the field.
You're just enjoying your moment. What is wrong with that?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, help me. But anyway, I thought it was a very interesting conversation we didn't get a chance to get to. And the Braves now 1-1, 8th inning with the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals are now up at the plate. What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We'll hear more from Paul Maneri, that 3-2 win last night over North Florida. Hear about Jordan Carrion. That's up next. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions. We'll get to some Carolina baseball here in a minute. Here, Coach Paul Mainieri coming off that 3-2 win over North Florida last night. Talking about Jordan Carrion here. Well, let's get to this first, and then we'll get to our tickets. We have, what you say, 2 family 4-packs?
2 family 4-packs to go see the Fireflies tonight, 7:05 first pitch.
That's tonight, right? All right,
Tonight.
so before we get to that, and we'll have you call for that in a minute, not yet. Let's get to cut 4 from today's cut list, Dave. Paul Mainieri talking about Jordan Carrion. I mistakenly said Holland scored the run. No, Carrion doubled to open up the 10th and scored on the Scobie knock, the RBI double. So Carrion opened up the 10th with a big double. Here is Paul Mainieri talking about Carrion's double.
What I said to him helped him necessarily. I wasn't too happy with his effort on the bunt, especially with 2 strikes. I don't know why he tried to bunt the ball down the third baseline. That didn't make any sense. We don't practice that, but he's had a little bit of a rough time. He didn't have a great weekend, and he's been so good for us since we inserted him, all year. And I knew it was just a matter of time before he did something good for us. And he hits the ball the best when he hits the ball to the opposite field. Sometimes, like most kids, they get pull happy because they think it's more macho to be able to pull the ball. But Scobie's the same way. He hits the ball so hard the other way that I don't know why they don't do it most of the time, But I was really happy for Jordan. He had a difficult weekend this past weekend, and he went out there tonight. And the first couple of at-bats weren't so great, but he ended up coming through when we needed it most.
Yeah, Carrion on the year, 287, only slugs 365, has 33 hits on the year, only 8 for extra bases, but 331 on base percentage. He's a guy that it's sort of like those are like old school numbers there, right? He's a guy that Let's see, but I want to cross over. Yeah, in 115 at bats, he has 21 strikeouts. He's walked 7 times. That's like old school numbers from like the 70s or 80s or something, right? He's not walking a lot. He's not hitting for a lot of power. In today's baseball, that's a pretty low amount of strikeouts for what we typically see guys do anymore. But what Mainieri said was interesting about wanting to pull the ball. And that is a creation of today with launch angles and home runs and exit velocities and, just squaring it up and hitting it to the opposite field. Sometimes you can do more damage and hit the ball harder instead of trying to pull everything. The old school, hit the ball where it's pitched, Jimmy. And some guys, look, Carrion doesn't seem like he's a power hitter.
No, he's not.
Use the whole field. If you get a pitch on the outside part of the plate that's in your happy area, so to speak, in your zone, hit it the opposite. Don't try to pull it. Don't try to do too much with it.
And look, he's emerged as kind of my favorite to watch on this team because he's always making something happen. He's always putting the ball in play. Like Mainieri said, he had a rough weekend, went 0-for against Ole Miss, but, went out there and got that clutch double last night that I've seen up driving in the run. And, he's somebody who's been here for a couple of years, had the eligibility issue last year, but once they finally inserted him in the starting lineup, he kind of fell into a rhythm. And he's been up and down here as of late, but when he needed to get somebody on to eventually get driven in, that's what he was able to do last night, which is good to see.
And just like KJ Scobie, again, 254 hitter, does have 4 homers on the year, but he's still slugging, 366. On base percentage is 340. Again, a guy that's not going to be hitting right now, and Scobie's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
So could he develop power as the next so many years go along? Sure. But right now, that's not who you are. Use the whole field when you hit.
Yeah.
Use the whole field. Don't be afraid to go with the pitch. Don't try to pull everything or muscle everything. And last night, the combination of Carrion and Scobie, they get the big hit in the 10th inning to get the victory.
By the way, I don't know if Carrion has another year after this or not. He might. I'm not sure.
We don't. Yeah, with eligibility, we don't know. We know that Scobie's got 2 more years at least if he goes to the majors or whatever the case. If he gets a lot better and could get drafted. So, but Scobie and Carrion together got the big hits in the 10th inning to get the victory. We played this earlier, but I want to kind of re-rack it, Dave, real quick. Cut 1, Paul Mainieri talking about those game-winning hits and those kind of victories are exciting. Hit cut 1.
Well, obviously, it was exciting to have our first real walk-off win. We had one earlier this year to make it a 10-run game, but this was our first true walk-off win, and you forget how exciting those are when you've been away from the game and you have your first one. Just real happy for KJ. It was a beautiful swing he put on that ball, and had a lot of confidence in him. Gave him the green light, 3-0. Tried to do a little bit too much with that pitch, but then with 2 strikes, he just had a great approach and tried to go the other way, and worked out well for us. I thought we pitched great all night, and it was a good victory for us.
Yeah, it was important victory because you really couldn't lose that one.
Yep.
So you dodged that landmine, and now you go to Lexington, Kentucky to play 3 against the Wildcats, who, like we have yipped about on this show, destroyed Louisville last night in the midweek and took 2 out of 3 at Tennessee over the past weekend. So they're playing very well right now as Kentucky as they host South Carolina Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. NBA playoffs last night, real quick. Pacers go up 2 over the Bucks. The Bucks are a shell of what they were a few years ago. And, the Pacers, they have a lot of talent. They do. The Pacers are a very talented team who just can't consistently put it together. But offensively, they can score. I love Tyler Halliburton. They played better defense this year than they played last season. But that's one of those teams where, for some reason, you see it, and then all of a sudden it falls apart on them. There's just They can't consistently keep it going. But they're they're a talented basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks, man, this all started. You won an NBA title. Then the next year you didn't get back, and then then you go to the next year and things aren't where you think it should be. So you fire your coach, and then you go star hunting. You had one of the best two-way guards in the NBA in Drew Holiday, but you needed a star to go with Giannis. So you go get Damian Lillard, you trade Holiday, and that started the beginning of the end. Because you brought in a guy in Lillard who cares about 3 things: making buckets, and making buckets. Doesn't really care about defense. Doesn't care about a lot. Does he want to win? Sure, but he wants to win with him scoring 30.
Sure.
And it's nothing against Damian Lillard. That's just who he is. But the Bucks screwed up their culture and their chemistry and everything because they couldn't stay the course that was working for them. So now the Bucks are a shell of their former team. It's going to be interesting because Giannis in the offseason say, you know what? I think you guys need to trade me. This is going the wrong direction. Lakers did something that didn't surprise me last night. They beat the Timberwolves. They're just better.
Oh, and Luka had a monster first quarter in that game.
Luka was ridiculous early in this game. Ended up with 31. But if you watch the first, what do you think, 20 minutes?
God, they were up by like 20.
Luka was doing ridiculous things. The Lakers actually tried to guard people last night. Minnesota cooled off from game 1. The Lakers didn't get physically thrown around. The Lakers are the better team. So really, look, Minnesota can win the series if the Lakers just continued to play like it did in game 1. If the Lakers play the way they should win the series. And they, last night, that game wasn't as close as 9, by the way, for a long time. That thing was in the 20s. And, Oklahoma City, they only beat Memphis by 19.
Yeah.
That's an improvement for the Grizzlies. Oklahoma City's just a machine.
So you're averaging losing by 35 points.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Not too bad.
Yeah, Oklahoma City gets the W over Memphis. Now Oklahoma City's up 2-0. That might be at the worst a gentleman's sweep.
Yep.
Before it's over with. All right, we got tickets.
Yep.
We got tickets to give away. 803-404-6100. Hit it, Tyler. What do we got?
Yeah, Fireflies versus the Carolina Mudcats. By the way, it's White Claw Wednesday, if that interests you.
Hey.
2 family 4-packs. 803-404-6100.
Right now, callers number 5 and 6 get those tickets for tonight's game for the Fireflies. Again, White Claw night.
White Claw Wednesday.
That's right. Callers number 5 and 6, 803-404-6100. Give us a ring right now. Go see the Fireflies tonight. Greatest day in the history of the world is April 23rd. We'll talk about that next here on the halftime show on the game. Greatest day in the history of the world. We're going to get you the condensed version. And then we dug this up. We were joking about injuries earlier because of what happened with Spencer Strider.
Yes, pulled his hamstring playing catch.
Yep. So we dug
After
up the.
just coming back from an injury.
So we found the 20 worst or weirdest injuries in Major League Baseball history. But first, let's get greatest day in the history of the world done. Like always, a little old school. On this day in 1903, the New York Highlanders, who later became the New York Yankees, won their first game as a franchise on this day in 1903, beating the Washington Senators. Some dude on this day in 1939 named Ted Williams hit his first career home run. Whatever happened to that guy? Probably nothing. I've never really heard much about him.
I think he's in a cryogenic chamber now.
That stuff isn't weird at all.
That's its own wild story.
Yeah, it is. This day in 1950, Minneapolis Lakers became the first team to win back-to-back NBA championships. Also on this day in 1954, some dude named Hank Aaron hit his first career home run. Whatever happened to that guy? Also on this day, 1989, Troy Aikman was the first pick overall by the Dallas Cowboys. Excellent move.
Worked out pretty well.
That worked out all right. And on this day, 2005, Alex Smith, Utah quarterback, first overall pick in the draft.
Also worked out pretty well.
And guess who fell down that draft board?
Yeah, that's right.
Some guy named Aaron Rodgers.
2005.
Watching him sitting in the green room or sitting in that area for the players and how more and more you could see how mad he was getting.
Oh, yeah.
And people were starting to move away from him until he was sitting totally by himself until he got picked by the Green Bay Packers. That was crazy. And on this day in 2020, some guy named Joe Burrow was picked first overall by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow. Sitting in his living room.
Yes.
That was a weird draft.
That was a weird draft. All right. Weirdest baseball injuries. This one's 3 of these are Orioles. This is how bad the Orioles were for a period. The only thing that led the league in were weird injuries. And this, I'll never forget this because I was doing Sports Talk in Baltimore when this happened. Marty Cordova, who was an outfielder, he was, I think, the American League Rookie of the Year with the Twins. He ended up as an Oriole. He fell asleep in a tanning bed and burnt his face. And he was out. He got put on the DL for falling asleep in a tanning bed.
Just his face?
His face was burnt, and they got he went on the disabled list.
How did that look? Was he just like...
We didn't see him.
You never saw him? Okay.
So he got put on the DL by getting burnt in a tanning bed.
All right.
Ricky Henderson got frostbite in August because what he did, he fell asleep with with a bunch of ice packs on his foot, which gave him frostbite, and he missed 3 games. Matt Cain, a former pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, hurt himself while making a sandwich.
Don't we all?
He will always get injuries.
What kind of sandwich?
Let's see if it says what kind. It doesn't say what kind of sandwich. Oh, ham and cheese. He was making a ham and cheese sandwich in the Giants team kitchen, dropped the knife, tried to catch the knife. Now, why would you try to catch the knife with your pitching hand?
You know, at worst, it's going to hit the ground, and you're going to have to rinse it off or get a new knife.
Right. Instead, I got to catch it. And he caught it with his pitching hand, cut his hand.
Also, buy pre-sliced.
Right.
They sell turkey and cheese pre-sliced, man. Just go that way.
You ready for this? You know what he said? He was trying to cut the sandwich. He goes, when I cut a sandwich, I like to make it fancy in triangles.
Well, for your career's sake, let's just keep it whole.
Will Smith, remember him with the Braves?
Yep.
And when he was with the Brewers, Will Smith tore his LCL taking off his shoes. He was getting ready to get in the shower after a game, standing on one leg to take the other shoe off, pulled so hard on the one shoe, the other shoe stayed on. Knee just kept going up until he popped his LCL.
These are the injuries I expect from, a middle-aged to elderly man that's never done anything athletic in his life. These are prime athletes that are hurting themselves taking their shoes off.
And I expect to talk to some guy, like David Dare would go, man, I screwed up my knee taking off my shoe, right?
Yeah.
Not a high-level professional athlete.
Dave, what is your weirdest injury, by the way? Do you have one?
You have a weird injury, Dave, ever in your life? You see, why'd we ask this? This could go down a really bad road.
PG, please. Keep it PG.
I did fall down some steps going from the parking lot to a golf thing.
Were you sober?
How many steps?
Oh, it was like 400 steps.
Were you sober?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's early in the morning.
just checking.
Yeah, and I'm going up the steps in a hurry, you know, and
And you fell back down them.
right knee still hurts to this day.
Did anybody see you?
Anybody see you?
Any
Oh, did anybody
witnesses?
see me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, some guy like, hey man, that's gonna be tough button.
Did he come over to see if you were okay?
Yeah,
Or just laugh at you?
he laughed and
See, I
asked
want
me
to
if I
see me. I'm going to come over to see if you're okay, and then I'm going to laugh at you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to laugh at you first. Or in today's world, you know what they do, Tyler? They get their phone out to videotape them laying there.
Yeah.
Hey man, let me get this for my Twitter account, and then I'll see if you're okay.
gonna mess up your game, man.
David Price got carpal tunnel from playing video games on the disabled list.
Okay. That's believable. I get that.
So Glenn Allen Hill was an outfielder. When he was playing with the Toronto Blue Jays, he had a nightmare, right? Got out of bed, went walking or whatever, get the nightmare. He's got like nightmare walking, sleepwalking with a nightmare. Think he was being attacked by spiders, so he starts like, trying to shoo the spiders away, and he fell through a glass table.
All right.
Sammy Sosa with the Orioles, of course. Sosa sneezed real hard, sprained a ligament in his lower back, and he was on the DL.
Wow.
Another Oriole, Brian Roberts, struck out, got mad, hit himself in the helmet with his bat, gave himself a concussion.
But at least you could see that one.
You
right?
get mad,
Yeah.
right? Here's one. Tom Glavine. Was he with the Mets? No, he's still with the Braves. Glavine ate some bad airplane food, threw up so hard he broke his rib.
Now, I've heard of throwing up so bad you've like damaged your vocal cords. Mm-hmm. Your throat's really like scratchy, but throwing out your back, that's a new one. What do you eat? Does it specify?
Let's see. Ate some airplane food, gave him food poisoning. He started throwing up so hard that he cracked 2 ribs.
Perhaps the lobster on the airplane was a bad idea.
Well, that's why now they just give you pretzels. They don't even give
Yeah.
you real food anymore. Kevin Mitchell. Kevin Mitchell in 1990 tossed a donut in the microwave, took it out of the microwave, bit into the donut, and chipped his tooth.
Wouldn't the microwave soften the donut, though?
I mean, how would you have the mic? Would you have it in for like 5 minutes
Yeah.
to make it like a
'Cause
brick?
If you are trying to reheat the donut, it's going to make it softer and more, I can't say the word.
Palpable?
Palpable, where you can bite into it easier.
You would think, but Kevin Mitchell chipped a tooth. Salvador Perez was walking with luggage, missed a step, hyperextended his knee.
How is this happening to professional athletes? I don't get it.
I got one here, though. This is really good. Brandon Morrow lands on the DL in 2018. By taking off his pants, he hurt his back.
Now, this is one where I don't think we're getting the full context of the story here.
I'm saying there's more to this that we're never going to find out because this could get bad. Ready?
I believe he was probably taking off his pants.
Why were you taking off your pants? It's 3 a.m. This gets worse. He said it's like 3 a.m. in the closet. Got my right leg my pant leg off. One just felt like a spasm in my back. And then I did something stupid while taking off the other pant leg, and it totally messed up my back. I think there's more to that story.
There's definitely he's not alone
Yeah.
when this is happening.
There's something else going on there that he's not telling. All right, Jonathan Lecroy. Searching for one of his socks under his bed. Wife moved a piece of luggage. It fell in his hand, and guess what? Broke his hand. Searching for a sock under the bed. Here's another one. Carlos Correa gets super intense massage, breaks his rib. I'm just going to leave that one alone.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Jeremy Affeldt. Jeremy Affeldt had 2 frozen hamburger patties. You've had frozen
Sure.
patties together, 2
Sure.
hamburger patties.
Yeah, you got to pull them apart.
So he tried to separate them with a knife, ended up gashing his hand, led to surgery to repair nerve damage in his hand.
By the way, you can do that with a butter knife, man. You don't need, the Gordon Ramsay special. Butter knife will be fine. I promise.
So there are some cool injuries. Weird injuries from Major League Baseball. Firehouse Sub Text the hour 803-404-6100 on the halftime show here on the game. Oh, halftime show. Braves win. Braves win. 4-1. A little come from behind victory over the Cardinals.
The guy that started for St. Louis today had like a 7-something ERA. Braves scored 0.
Yeah, Mikolas. Yeah, and Mikolas was pitching like the old Mikolas.
He was dealing. He was like Nicholas.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Milos. Remember?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, Milos Mikolas.
I don't care. Braves won. That's 5 out of 6, man. Here we're
I tell you, White hit the three-run homer, put him ahead in the bottom of the 8th.
And there's some bozo on the Braves broadcast, showing all his friends he's on television, and you just want to punch people like that. He
violent today, there, Jay Phillips.
No,
okay?
I'm not. But I just don't like people that do that.
Tyler,
I just don't like people.
You don't like the people in the background at live broadcast?
Well, like the other day on the Today Show, they were talking about the Pope dying.
Uh-huh.
And there's some bozo outside on the plaza in Manhattan, like going, like, "Hi, Mom."
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. Like, just anyway. How y'all doing? Good to see you.
Doing good. Violent Jay Phillips wanted to punch people. Eli White with the go-ahead 3-run homer.
I'm not a violent person. Mm-hmm. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
All right, man. So your Braves win. Now 10-7 since that awful start.
Which is good.
It's all right.
It's good.
Look, they got to get some people back from injury. Nobody should play catch anymore. Everybody's pulling hamstrings playing
catch. Get them back from injury and then keep them healthy after that.
Yeah, keep them healthy. Have Ronald Acuna Jr. and Snicker hug. Get this thing moving forward. Get back to baseball.
I think that situation's not patched up yet. And Jeff Francoeur apparently took a whole gas station to it. Not just poured gasoline on it. I think he took a whole gas station to it yesterday on 680.
It's gotten farther.
We talked about it here, and nobody looks good, by the way, in this whole situation. No one really looks good. I get Acuna Jr., because if I'm Acuna Jr., I'm watching that going, "Hey, what's up, bub?"
Yeah.
But you know what you do? You get your phone, and I think you have Snit's number.
Yeah.
You give Snit a ring or text him and say, "Hey, can we talk about this?" You don't go right to social media.
And
but Snit didn't handle it correctly either.
Well, Snit and Snit admitting that I didn't really see it. I'm like, what?
How do you not see it?
But there's 3 other instances of this, and in each of them, so including Acuna's, benching, Snit benched the guy. He did it to Ozuna, and help me out. He did it to former shortstop. Now,
Arcia?
No,
not Arcia.
Before that.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Anyway, so he's done
not for call.
No, not for call.
That was a long time ago.
In between. I'll think of it. I'll think of it in a second. But anyway, so there's been 4 instances. 3 people got benched, and in the one that he didn't. This is not a defense, because if anything, it's like, hey, Snit, you got to pay attention. Kelnick should have been benched after that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's brutal. That's brutal.
You can't do. And we were yipping about it here on the show, just kind of. Looking at the instances and everything, and why you wouldn't bench Kelnick. Even we were talking about, it's like, okay, let's say you didn't see it. Wink, wink.
Yeah, right.
Like you said, then Kelnick gets benched the next day.
Yeah, well, and if he didn't, then Walt Weiss saw it.
Yeah, nobody's watching the game.
Somebody on the bench saw it and can say to Snit, hey.
Yeah, it was a bad look, and so that's got to.
And I don't know if Snit was in the, like getting some water.
Yeah,
or
where were you, Snit?
Down getting a snack out of the machine, getting some Cheez-Its.
A little bathroom run or something? I don't know. Something going on.
It was Ender Inciarte.
Inciarte. Thank you.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I knew it was one of the shortstops. But anyway, so he has done it a few times. But no, Ronald's right in the sense that Jared should have been benched.
Absolutely.
Jared owned it later, which is fine.
Well, here's the thing too. Acuna didn't try to go to second. He stopped at first. He didn't even make an out.
Right.
Kelnick got thrown out at second.
Yeah.
So again, it's just and that's where if you're Snit, man, you gotta
be consistent.
Yep, you gotta be consistent.
So.
But anyway, they're still gonna be there at the end, whether it's competing for a wild card spot, whatever. They find a way. Remember, they were 500 when Acuna Jr. got hurt, went and won a World Series.
Yep.
They find a way to be. No one said, not to say they're going to do that. They're going to be in contention for a postseason slot before it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I told Elijah, they would go on a streak, and they won 4 in a row. They lost last night. They win today. So again, 5 out of 6, and the Braves will start to go out there and win 4 of 5, 4 of 6 for a
They'll
little
be all
bit, and by June the record will be where it needs to be. I still think the Mets will find a way to Met
Well, they're the Mets.
at some point.
Sure.
And Philadelphia is probably the team.
Phillies
to
are
beat.
good,
Yeah,
man.
I think
I mean, they
Philadelphia
are.
is the team to beat.
Yeah, I agree. Phillies are really good. The Mets, I agree with you. Eventually, someone's going to walk in the clubhouse and say, "You realize we're the Mets, right? What are we doing here?" But yeah, the Braves are going to be okay, man. They're going to be fine. They just got, hey, whenever it happens super early or super late, we magnify it more in baseball.
Yeah, definitely.
But if they have this patch in July, we're going, it's a long season,
Happens, right?
Everybody gets all kooky about stuff in the beginning.
Just don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
Just
We're not
don't
good.
go on any more
Another
7-game losing
seven-game
streaks.
losing
You're
streak wouldn't
only
be
you're only
good.
4 games under 500 now. So
All right, so you
you're
sweat
getting
out
there.
last night, 3-2 and 10 with North Florida.
I was following on Twitter, and he just kept saying, "Come on, boys, you don't do it.
Can't do it.
Don't do it."
Can't do it.
And they didn't. So
To their credit, they got a W.
yeah,
That's what matters.
And I know it's not a good team. I even have on my rundown, I wrote down, good pitching or bad opponent, somewhere in between.
Yeah, I mean, North Florida's not very
They're not good. They're not good.
You